Ladies and gentlemen, we have another matchup for you here. We have another Ascension group stage for number 3, and I am joined by Mesk from the beginning. What's up, dude?
That's 3.
That is 3. We've got some players here that are a little bit on the greener side, particularly HelltRYKS with his competitive debut as Protoss in a matchup against the Beaver 99 on Repulsion. So I'll go ahead and initiate a ready check, but it'll be interesting to see HelltRYKS' playstyle.
No, I don't. I've only played with him maybe like twice. And I think one of those games was a desync. So
That's correct.
I don't really know anything. It's going to be a complete wild card.
Let's see what he's planning. I saw him playing a lot in the earlier, like, leading up to it. He was playing for like 6 hours, so he's been grinding out some strategies, I think. So, see what he comes up with.
And then we have Beaver, who I feel like struggles when things get to be larger scale. But he has been playing pretty consistently.
That's right.
I find that his play is very consistent. Like, there aren't too many times where I think, oh, this is an off day for him, or whatever.
Fairly stable as far as his like skill to day-to-day performance or whatever.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you notice like maybe even the Shambler or especially 3Crow from like game to game they might change a little bit wildly depending on what's happening, right? So.
Whereas, yeah, Beaver is definitely a lot more consistent. So consistency can be very good. He can be a little bit thrown off by unconventional stuff, but I put him through the ringer with cheese enough times that I doubt too many people are really going to put him off kilter that easily. I think in HelltRYKS' case, depending on what his skills are, the later the game goes, the better it is for him. But I think Beaver is quite comfortable in Tier 2, and we've seen plenty of longer games with him in Tier 3. He pretty much knows what everything does.
Yes, he's familiar with the project, so...
Yeah, he's not really going to get caught off guard by anything, so it really comes down to like what his control is going to be like. Which, again, reasonably consistent all across the board. You can exploit weaknesses in his play, but you're not really, at least in my experience, not really going to find like really major super glaring stuff show up just out of nowhere. So, in HelltRYKS' case, he should be looking for consistency as well. We do see an early Dracodon. Pretty stable standard, very DarkenedFantasies, who is oomphing watching us at the moment.
Yeah, he is also in this group, so...
Most certainly rooting for his oomphy in this case. Well, it's just a single gateway at the moment.
Yeah, Fulcrum first as well for the Beaver. You mentioned his playstyle being somewhat stable. He does like vultures. So.
I think he tended more towards bio in the past, but ever since the addition of the lobster, he is certainly a lobster representative. Vulture is not quite capable of erasing 10 workers with a single mine like they used to be. Against Dracodon, it's not terrible. You're not spending an enormous amount of gas, but again, since you don't have mine damage, I find vultures are really, really hard to make succeed now. Especially early game where the vultures are their follow-up damage and their attack rate is not super fast, so you can't really kite like them like you used to. Probably we'll see a transition into Goliaths, I imagine. The real question will be, will it be Goliath Cleric, or will it just be enough Goliaths to hold the line and then go to Tier 2? We do see a Mason coming out here that is probably gonna build an anchor. Yep. So
vultures and anchors are always funny to me, but they are actually quite effective versus the fact of the matter is that the Dracodons themselves can't compete with that range-wise, so they will be able to contest, which is just fine. This is going to be a total of 7 range to the 6 of the Dracodon once the vulture gets into the anchor itself. Looks like a move out with 4 units, or perhaps just posturing around. Now he's going to go ahead and path towards the choke. And yeah, Beaver being fairly conservative here, setting up a Fulcrum number 2. Not looking to expand just yet, while HelltRYKS is starting to get a little bit up in terms of the worker count, able to get some more, economy. Probably will eventually get to a point where he's floating enough money from just 2 gates that he has to choose whether to increase his production or start to go for an expansion.
At this point with Protoss, it's very, very tempting to take something like the Astral Omen, but the Astral Omen is not really that good against Bile. Cyprians will deal quite well with Exemplar and Gladiuses, at least in sufficient numbers, but there are no Cyprians out now, so it wouldn't necessarily be bad. You just have to be aware of Goliaths. If he doesn't take anything like that, then he's going to be having a lot of gas for the future.
Oh no, he stunned his own 2 vultures there with the Zealot. I was worried that something like that might happen. A little bit of awkward target selection there doesn't allow him to pick off any of the very, very wounded vultures. So, you know, so far so good for pretty much both players. There are 2 Drakenons confirming no third base, but they have not yet scouted to see if there is a natural, in fact. So this is pretty good forward positioning on the anchor because it stops Beaver from really being scouted out to what his intentions are. And there are a lot of vultures in production. He's looking to make you a liar, Mask, about vultures not being successful or effective.
Well, I mean, if he ends up with like 50 of them, they certainly can do some damage. If the Protoss loses too many units trying to take down this anchor, it certainly can open up an attack too. What I'm also noting is that he's also floating a lot of gas because he's not doing anything but vultures. So he could go straight to an Atlas, but this is precisely what the Protoss really didn't want to do. Overcommit to the anchor and lose everything in the process. I don't think he's in too much danger yet, but it is certainly not a position you want to be in where there is like 8 vultures up and you only have like 2 units to defend against it.
Yeah,
and now he has to start panic building wardens, but those wardens aren't even really in the best spot to deal with the vultures either. They can easily skirt around that and go for the workers, and there's going to be a lot of vultures. And again, if you're in this position as Beaver, this is perfect for you. Even if the vultures don't end the game, you can afford an Atlas within a reasonable amount of time and you're not in immediate danger of taking damage from areas. So you don't even have to commit to building hordes of watchdogs.
Yeah, that's right. And this Nexus is going to start being jeopardized here. The Ecclesiasts are out, but versus vultures, not really the greatest choice.
They're not really going to be giving you too many shields because there's no close range units in this group.
Yeah. Well, this harassment so far, or attack or probe or whatever you want to call this by Beaver, is not yielding too many results, and he is pretty far away and not rallying his next set of vultures out, but he's shutting down mining or at least delaying it. Did kill a couple of scribes. They're even on workers for now. That's a huge stun from the lobster. That is enormous.
The lobster strikes.
Yeah,
oh no, and that's a disaster for HelltRYKS committing to that after only added salt to the wound.
Well,
he does have some additional Drakenons, but it's still very cost effective for Beaver at this point to make those kinds of trades, and he can just sit back and wait for a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's almost got enough for the Atlas, but he is going to queue up some Goliaths, so that'll be some initial...
I think he just senses blood in the water and knows he's got a lot of pressure at the moment. If he was banking, maybe he figures, well, some Goliaths will probably just end this sooner. A lot of these vultures are pretty low, but there is enough of them and they have open terrain. So at this point, HelltRYKS kind of wanted to spend that gas and have some longer range or more sustainable units out, but unfortunately, he's going to end up getting destroyed by vultures.
Well, the Wardens are here to zone off some further attacks, and that is indeed what's going to happen, despite the fact that, of course, as you mentioned, they could have just walked past. I think that's going to be enough of a faux pas that, yeah, okay, you're going to lay some mines to try to delay them, but even, you know, most of these are getting popped, and you're now withdrawing away from the opportunity to really jump on the Drakenons at this point. The stun timer is very low. The Nexus is still keeping itself alive. Yes, obviously Beaver has an advantage, but that can dwindle quickly. Like, Protoss can fight back against this. There's an idol in production. He's going to start to try to move to defend the Nexus. He even goes ahead and rallies that to clear it out. That's not a bad move. Try to clear it out with the Scribe. And yeah, at this point, you can just sort of take a stutter step back. What I would like to see from HelltRYKS for the future is improving his stutter step. You can get those free shots. There is no sustain. So, yeah, he didn't even have to lose his Nexus there. He definitely could have been fighting a lot more.
Yeah, a lot of those vultures could have been killed just with those 2 Drakenons, and he could have taken damage away from the Nexus. The Goliath might have destroyed it anyways, but he would have at least made him trade for it.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if the idols are really going to help too much against this. Their splash radius is not super huge, and the vultures are kind of large and tend to be a little bit spread out. They do move very quickly, though. So hypothetically, they can punish better, but they can't really hit moving vultures. So there is a 3rd Fulcrum and 2 Scrapyards out. So we're seeing Blackjacks and Matadors queued up. So again, if there was going to be an Atlas rush, Beaver is pretty much completely abandoned it at this point.
He wants to try to end it.
He does have a lot of gas still, but yeah. I think he just wants to keep up the pressure. The gas float is mostly just by extent of him not really building gas heavy units at this moment. He is just going to push into this. Some point-blank lobsters could give him a little bit of an edge here, as HelltRYKS really isn't trying to kite out of this, but there is just a lot of Drakenons at this point. A little wary of the mines.
The embassy is complete, so he can go for a witness. He obviously does have 300 gas in the bank. I'd like to see that happen at some point. More Drakenins on the way. A Witness in production. Yeah, Beaver is obviously at an advantage. Obviously, taking care of that Nexus is a big deal. You know, Terran is supposed to be the one getting contained in this matchup. But as you mentioned, the longer the game goes on, HelltRYKS might have some ways back into the match. He shouldn't feel super dissuaded. The mines are definitely going to, you know, zone him away, but the Witness is nearly done. He's going to go ahead and just scout around, poke around, see what he can find. Doesn't provoke Beaver. Doesn't get an attack notification when the mine completes, of course. And at this point, the Nexus should just be put down. You can have some confidence that your unit production has given you a pretty big advantage. And that mine does reveal, indeed, that there is an attempt at putting another Nexus down, but this force is just going to get zoned.
There's so many Protoss. Like, that's the thing with the Vultures, is Beaver had an early advantage, but then he lost all of it. Now, to break this, if he's going to commit to this, he's going to need way more, because now there's a lot more concentrated damage that can come out of the Protoss at this point.
And he's cleared out all the lobster mines, as you would say. Yeah. So, well, the big thing at this point, too, is there is no tier 2 in sight just yet. Beaver has the ability to start getting it, but he's still spending his minerals, keeping his minerals too low to do it. So we do have a bit of a move out, a botched rally on one of those blackjacks.
There is an Anseal coming to say hello. Hello.jpg.
Yeah, it could have actually been picked off, yeah. A lot of burst damage coming out there. So again, the unit control falling back in particular, just occasionally stutter step and attack move order or something to that effect, and definitely would have helped him out there. But the Anseal obviously can deal with the Witness, which is a crucial point. Which will potentially allow more lobotomy mines if he wants to continue in Vulture production, and some are on the way.
Matador charges forth, dies terribly. This ledge here could be a little bit of an issue for HelltRYKS. He really wants to force it in, but the Anseal is going to add a lot of much-needed beef to the Beaver.
Beefer. And that Witness is not long for the world either if it sticks around. Thankfully, does manage to escape just barely. And there was
the other thing about the Anseal is because the Anseal recharges energy, it somewhat negates the flash shielding in a little bit of a way, because you get a little bit of flash shielding yourself as a result of that. So popping in and out with a Protoss is not as efficient as it normally would be.
Well, keep in mind that there is an Envoy with a Drakenid and 2 Idols. The Idols specifically dealing great splash damage against the threat at home. While an Atlas has been constructed, this could very easily start to do some pretty good damage here to the natural and maybe equalize the worker count, which has really fallen massively out of favor for HelltRYKS. He was keeping up in the early game, but there's also a Trojan, so there's going to be an attempt at elevator play from, you know, this is a harassment from the Protoss, an elevator from the Terran. And there is not yet a response. He's trying to find a
little
good
bit
spot.
of a kerfluffle. I don't know if he tried to drop and it didn't work out, or if he just decided against it. This Atlas is going to finish just in time.
Well, meanwhile, there's an attack on the front, so
yeah,
that's gonna split the focus, and the units are now out. The Envoy could return home, and some forces are indeed going to start getting picked off here at the worker line home. There is production, but they're rallied in the other way, so Vultures are leaving.
2 Matadors are now torching the Scribes. There's drops on both sides.
Look at that.
3 Matadors. One's going to die to the Warden pretty easily, though.
The other one as well, and that one will not be long for the world afterwards. Meanwhile, this attack still has not been cleaned up. Mason's starting to turn on the Idols, but that means they're clumping up a little bit. Plus, the Cyclops is dealing some much-needed damage for the Masons specifically. Now they're starting to get pulled away. And indeed, you know, this actually, with a little bit of micro, that Idol could stay alive and clear out these Cyclops, but not going to happen. HelltRYKS' attention was elsewhere. And he still has his Envoy over there, which he should evacuate at the nearest convenience. It doesn't look like Beaver's too interested. But again, double the worker count.
It's gathering intel, you know, very important to know what's mining and where. Now, HelltRYKS lost a lot of mining time out of that Matador drop at a pretty critical point where he had basically no resources.
Yeah.
So it not tremendous, but it did slow him down a little bit. Meanwhile, while Beaver did lose a bunch of workers, he still has over double the count, and the Atlas did finish right before it dropped, so that didn't get canceled either or slowed down at all. So I feel like dropping in the Nat might have netted more worker damage, but either way, it's kind of only going to just slow him down a little bit. He's already hit that break point, and whatever he builds next, he's got lots of gas. He could go magical drop would be all right, but he has to maybe scout ahead because there is a lot of Drakenins here, and it would sure suck to lose this first batch of Madrigals to the Trojan dying trying to drop this. I think HelltRYKS is well aware, perhaps seeing that Atlas, that, well, there's already one drop, there's probably going to be more. Chances are if someone's going to try to drop you once, they're going to try to drop you again.
Multiple times, for sure. Until the tactic is no longer viable, and even then they might break it out later on. So no additional static defense, even though there is a pylon in position.
It will be phalanxes that are coming, so...
Yeah, trying to do a more
break that
conventional
line.
siege, it looks like, which is fine. And at this point, obviously, the map is Beaver's Oyster. Witness is going to go ahead and confirm that the Anseal is still there, and will narrowly stay alive. The Envoy did die horribly to a single Goliath earlier, so that is unfortunate because obviously HelltRYKS could have used more drops to potentially release the pressure of being contained. He is going to try to charge forward and deal with this very minuscule and wounded force in the cliff. So that's definitely a point that now no longer will Beaver have much of an advantage. He can swarm up with the vultures, but I don't think he's really going to be too interested in doing that. This force would clean that up as well. So. Now we're starting to get into a situation where maybe HelltRYKS can start to take a third, or think about pushing out in general, maybe trying to clear out this minefield that's here. He does have some Atreus. I'm actually quite surprised with the gas that he was floating, and indeed he has a little bit of gas now. Could go for a Cantavis drop, but again he'd have to rebuild the Envoy.
Yeah, a Cantavis would be great, and then that he did scout that third was also being built with the Envoy when he initially sent it over. At least I'm pretty sure it was being built at that point. He knows that there's no anti-air defenses whatsoever. You could assume that he built some anti-air responses in response to the first drop, but you also have a Witness that could just go check and to make sure anyways.
Beaver's low reaction time is going to cost him one of his Trojans. And it does mean that now HelltRYKS has some dominion over pretty much the entire section of the map. The biggest question is he, does he have enough units to hold the Blackjack Scouts? And of course he does. So Beaver won't really be able to get too much done here. No hull damage dealt whatsoever. And does lose the Blackjacks for his trouble. Well, there is indeed a move out on move command and not attack command. And there you go. It clears that vulture.
It's the single vulture doing his darnest to try to assault the
Meanwhile,
crabs.
look at the mid-left.
These random phalanxes in the middle of nowhere are going to get some damage in on this force.
Now, if he's not careful, he can get jumped upon, right?
Yeah.
The Witness was there revealing it. Now it seems to have fallen.
No
With the
front line
golems
for them.
charging.
The vultures are on the side. Both of them die. There is a Madrigal. It appears. Shoots over there somewhere. It's focused down.
Evaporates.
Vultures all this time have been shooting, so they do get some damage. And trying to focus down the heavier damage here. Does manage to kill some crabs.
Oh, the Anseal even getting taken out of by the splash damage. And the remaining forces are kind of a wash, but...
Final ultimate slog. The Blackjacks actually managed to win that.
The
with
problem
their 2
is,
armor penetration.
This entire time, there has been phalanxes and a minefield being deployed over here. The Anseal flies in horribly, so that's not going to get too much, and that does mean that there's no detection. Not that that's going to take into effect too much.
The lobsters await with open arms. Into the lobsters
Just a single
he
Atreus.
travels.
Just a single Atreus gets called there. And you know what? He could have committed there and just picked off the phalanxes and walked away. And in normal PvT, as indeed a third base is being set up there finally for HelltRYKS, what you would want to do there is just, even if you trade one Drakedon per phalanx, one Dragoon per siege tank, it's still worth it for you because you have, that is cost efficient, and you get just a little bit more tempo, where obviously it took more APM and general map presence to deploy them in the first place and actually get them up there. But yeah, at this stage, HelltRYKS is slowly coming back into the game.
There is a Cantavis coming.
Okay.
No Envoy currently, but there is a Cantavis just about to finish.
Good stuff.
I mean, I feel like the Cantavis will be a little bit more viable against the phalanxes versus the siege tanks because you're not dealing with hit scan attacks anymore.
Yeah, they do
so
have
if you're moving and they try to snipe you, I feel like you'll take reduced damage, especially at a distance.
And also, especially if you have any sort of front line, the golems were a great choice. Now they're being swapped out for more idols. But golems and amaranths, and especially if you paired them with Ecclesias, you imagine that would work out really well.
There is a siege phalanx coming down here, but he's going to run right into those Drakenons like I thought, and he's going to lose both it and the Trojan on top of it. I foresaw this. Some Madrigals dying here out in the front.
Now,
a little out of position.
HelltRYKS used Hallucinate on his own unit because he thought maybe it works like in Starcraft 1. It creates an effect field, and any unit affected by that will take a phantom strike from any projectile they take. So basically they take 1.5x damage from every attack that they take, right? It's second projectile fires on them, or if it's a hit scan attack, it just deals the damage instantaneously. So that's kind of how that one works out, as a bit of a crash course there. But turns out HelltRYKS maybe didn't know that, so he threw it on there and expected to get a second Drakedon or something, and it didn't end up working. So He'll fend that off very easily. The Blackjacks are going to charge forward on this side too. If he's not careful, he could lose that, but instead he's going to go ahead and blanket it with the Storm. Not a bad shout there whatsoever. Remember that Blackjacks get reduced attack speed and movement speed when they take damage. So Storm's a very effective
the Witness dies terribly.
Unfortunate.
Always painful to see when a pro storms his own observer. This ramp here gives this Cantavis a place to run and hide. As long as he doesn't charge face first. All the Blackjacks basically died for nothing. They had no backup. They didn't accomplish too much. That kind of kills Beaver's momentum here. He's still got his tanks, but now he needs another front line. So
he's got a lot of fulcrums at home, and they all have full Blackjack queues.
Yeah, and they're all queued up.
And with the fourth base in the top and the bottom right-hand corner as well. I mean, Sentinels on the front line, at least one of them.
I think he's pooling for tier 3, to be honest with you.
He's got it.
I think that's why he's spamming.
And he did just do it. He dropped it somewhere in the natural. So 1,400 of each resource required for that. So that's why he was.
The Datala is on the way. Is he just going to go straight to Diadems?
Could happen. He canceled a couple of Blackjacks, so I think he was intending to, spike back up in mineral income so he could maybe deploy some more Sentinels somewhere or drop some more expansions. I'm not sure exactly where that money is going now, but...
HelltRYKS does not have any engage if he does decide to do that. He's trying out Hallucinate again there, as units are getting picked off. Blackjacks are getting picked off by Phalanxes. It's just this very silly fight going on here. Just these 3 units holding off the world.
Well, some Ecclesias are charging forward. Again, not the most effective against Terran range. Could be good paired with melee, right? But he doesn't have any melee yet, so...
Not getting trolled by the Phalanxes quite yet. Thinning down the Blackjacks. Probably feeling pretty good about that, although he still can't move out. He is not attacking or really doing any too much to deal with the problem that he can't actually really engage at the moment.
Well, look at this.
Feels like he's trying to wait for a critical mass. Yeah, there's an off-the-beaten-path battle against Blackjacks and Atreus, and 1 Atreus dies. It's like 1 Atreus to 10 Blackjacks.
Pretty good ratio.
I mean, that might even be a trade that Beaver is quite happy with at this point.
Well, there's only 1 Grand Library, and there's about 7 fulcrums, so...
Yeah. It's just this endless single-file stream of them.
Well, if he's not careful, he's just going to walk straight into that Phalanx Horde. So instead, HelltRYKS trying to refocus his attempts. He can maybe antagonize the base to the north of Beaver's
so
Maim.
Many of them.
And yeah, the Daedala is nearing completion by this point. So we should be seeing Diadems come out here, almost certainly. And I feel like if that happens, the Fleet Beacon is up. Yeah, it's halfway done, but I don't think you can realistically, do too much.
I think that if you take Solarians, there's so many Blackjacks, they're going to shred the Stewards. Empyreans don't have the range to deal with them either. You need several of them, and it's going to take a while to do that.
Well, the Blackjacks would fall to the Empyreans for sure, but the problem is if the Diadems actually come online fast enough, I don't know what you can do in response to that. So
you can charge them with all of your scribes.
It's true. Well, technically, again, they don't attack air units, so it's a question of can you focus them down in time? But yeah, at this stage, as discombobulated and chaotic as the game is, right, with the 3rd under attack from HelltRYKS and these 3 units now surviving and moving around, just being annoying,
There's
forcing
just random Blackjacks everywhere in the map, just tickling. Nothing threatening, just tickling.
That's true.
I mean, Beaver may even be like, well, I want to see what he's doing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it makes sense. It also keeps tabs on his army movement and forces him to respond to you. So, very chaotic, very strange.
So, the Daedala is finished.
So is the Fleet Beacon. Empyreans on the way.
Has some money. He's got a floating treasury. It's not burning down yet.
Just has one. He has almost enough minerals for a single diadem. 800, remember. So expecting that at some point here, but he's, camera position is back at home.
Doesn't have any vision is the thing. If he wanted to do that, having some Anseals, Wraiths. I mean, there is an Anseal being built, so you never know.
He's got 2 at the front as well. And he's pathing a lot of units to the top middle from the left-hand side. That's precisely the opposite direction of where HelltRYKS
all of the money disappeared. Where did it go?
Yeah, certainly not in the... I think it's in the Fulcrum queues. It's certainly not in Diadems, so... I like the Masons.
I don't know, another 10 Fulcrums at this point.
Oh, Cantavis drops a couple Storms. This one Cantavis has really helped him out quite a bit.
Yep. He's blocking his own Goliaths with the Masons.
Love that.
There's an attempted charge of the front and the tank line, but
that's not going to end very well.
He felt the wrath of the Lobsters.
Not only that, but the Phalanxes. I mean, they're doing surprisingly good damage to them, but obviously the redirection there isn't going to be enough to kill that 3 HP Phalanx. He does hold the third and has some more units on the way, as well as an Empyrean that is finished. The second one was in the queue for a while. And all the money just went away again for the Beaver as he dropped some Sentinels.
One Empyrean is out. With some more queued up. I mean, a world does exist where if Beaver takes too long, there gets to be such a number of Empyreans that any blackjacks that approach them are just instantly vaporized. And he has some Goliaths, but again, once you get enough Empyreans, even the Goliaths aren't really going to be able to deal that much. So either he's got to start taking advantage of that tech he's got, maybe make some foundries or maybe some nanite assemblies or something, or he's got to put the Ion Wars in motion.
Yeah, he had a couple of opportunities to do that. Is he even using his tier 3 tech? I don't see...
No, not currently.
I don't see any structures that are actually taking advantage of that right now.
Okay, never mind. Now he's building some iron foundries out in front of his base.
Okay. So looking to maybe use Paladins to continue to breach that. That wouldn't be a bad choice, specifically against Empyreans, which are slow. So if they're firing, they're locked in for a slow amount of time. Not as long as like a Valkyrie in classic StarCraft 1, but somewhat similar in terms of a lengthier firing sequence. So they're immobilized, similar to the Paladins, but the micro battles can certainly favor the Terran side, considering they're so far ahead anyway.
The Cuirass would also, again, be great for this, because none of the units that HelltRYKS is using at the moment, except for the Empyreans, actually do high base damage. So the armor is going to be really great. I mean, the Empyrean's damage is still split up over multiple attacks, too. So if he really wants a beefier front line than just blackjacks, that can work as well for his tanks. But he's trying to go up these chokes, and this one Cantavis
it can just keep
is
storming
just
with the
destroying him
Atreus
constantly.
AoE, yeah. Doesn't respond a little bit in time, so that some units do get up the ramp, and there are more mech units. Meanwhile, another attempted charge at the front, but there's still all of these defenses, so wisely withdraws there. The Cantavis will finally fall.
The Cantavis dies.
But there are 3 Empyreans with a 4th nearing completion. They can potentially hold this, and they'll already start to engage the blackjacks that are coming in the front
So many
line.
blackjacks.
And the Phalanxes haven't moved either from the left-hand side, so they're not sieging the space or doing any eco damage. There's 1 or 2 scribes. 1 scribe died by a single Goliath.
Blackjacks got separated by those Drakeneds on the cliff.
Ah, yes.
And are easily dispatched. The one that went to that side is still holding it. This ramp is just giving Beaver so many headaches. And there's just a million tanks here that stand to die against the Empyrean.
Well, it's not.
Yeah,
it's going to get killed by the by the Goliath and the Black. Is it? No, shields. Oh my God, 6 HP.
6 health.
Meanwhile, the Atreus just mercilessly slaying blackjacks. You know why the reason why Beaver's playing with so many blackjacks? It's his voice. He's talking to himself.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Well, Mystery Meat was also showing why it might be meta. Now we've seen the siege happening with the Phalanxes. This is basically saying, I'm in range to attack your workers.
On the way.
I'm in range to attack your Nexus. You got to respond to this. But there is no anti-air here. So with the Empyrean staying alive, very low HP. I'm trying to select the wounded one. I think it went homo. There it is. Yeah. Why is he falling back? What's he doing?
The Goliaths are scary.
Well, he can certainly
He's
take
worried about
that.
Wing Zero, you know.
Yeah. And that does allow a lot more workers to end up getting destroyed. There are some blackjacks, but again, the splash damage will take some damage to them. And instead, no, where is HelltRYKS at? He's not responding to the threat here, exactly. Some Drakeneds coming up to take some aggro. And still no Empyreans have fallen, so pretty good stuff there. Obviously have double the armor as the armor pen of the blackjack, right? Only 2 armor pen for that. And yeah, these Phalanxes are going to start getting cleaned up. Even the blackjacks are not likely to do too much. Amaranths have started to be trained, and 3,200 gas for the Beaver. What could he possibly be thinking about? You said Paladins
I think
were on
he's
the way.
thinking about blackjacks,
oh, there
honestly.
they are. Yes, I think so.
Paladins are going to start pulling away the Empyreans. Some focus fire here will start netting some kills finally. One goes down.
The others are very bruised after the
wounded.
shields, so unlikely to be anything other than a last-ditch effort here from the Empyreans, which are going to be able to take down one of the Paladins, but at the cost... Oh, they aren't even going to be able to do that. There was a Solarian train.
Health.
And that will kind of
can
screw
kite
up...
these a little bit here, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to screw up the pathing a little bit there, the target selection. Meanwhile, there is...
The lone Amaranth charges for the front and...
got a single shot off, and that's it. Now that's gonna stay alive for quite a while, so
he can easily pick up this paladin with his other units, but I guess he was seeing if the lone Amaranth could solo it, and it looks like it probably could.
it could have, particularly with the added splash from the Phalanx, so that's gonna be enough to keep him alive. But Goliaths, Blackjacks,
So
and Seals,
many Goliaths
and an additional
Blackjacks
paladin
charging forward.
Where is the Solarian? It went back to the natural. A Monument of Sin being created in the main. Can he hold out long enough to use it?
Units are all kind of separated here, but that Empyrean is going to die to the Goliaths. It has nowhere to go. This expansion is finally going to go down. Beaver has thrown, it feels like, thousands of Blackjacks against it. The Solarian is not even moving out to do anything about this.
Nope.
Scribes are scurrying everywhere as Beaver continues to float in gas to absurd proportions. He can't even spend it all. Doesn't have enough minerals. It's all going into Blackjacks. He has more important things to do than build tier 3 stuff. He's got Blackjacks.
Yeah, I mean, the Paladins did end up being quite impactful to deal with the Empyreans, so it's not like his tier 3 was completely wasted, but I think it's pretty clear he could have done, you know, a little bit better. They wanted to avoid Ions, I guess. He didn't want the Diadems to come out and bully HelltRYKS so quickly, I suppose. But he will be going up to a 1-0 advantage almost certainly. The Monument of Sin was completed, but not enough resources to queue anything out of it. At least the Star Sovereign should be within reach by now, but is he going to go for that is the question.
He has to hold out for it, but a lone Star Sovereign is not going to be able to deal with so many Goliaths anyways.
Yeah, GG is going to be called.
He's going to GG, and
that's going to be it.
That will be it. That's our first game of the set.
Indeed. Hey, Mask, if you're still on the score screen, can you tell me how many units were trained by the Beaver?
169, actually. No, 434. I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at the kills.
Right. Okay.
HelltRYKS killed 264 units, while Beaver made 434. As a comparison, HelltRYKS made 207. So that is probably the difference just in sheer Blackjacks, and probably at least 100 of those kills are probably from the one Cantavis.
I wouldn't be surprised if he at least did a lot of damage to it, you know, 100 units or whatever. Scroll up and find all of the other maps. Ah, okay, it's Boskevine that is selected. So we will go ahead and jump into that for DF to take on the Beaver. What's up, Shambler? I see you in the chat there. Yes, I think Exemplars would have worked out quite well. You know, there was no bio, as Mesk was commenting earlier, so could have been the option there. Okay. How do you feel about how Beaver played that one?
A little shaky in the beginning. I think he got a little too carried away. But again, he kind of knows what to do when that happens, so he just buckled up and turtled in, went to Paladins. It was still felt like that HelltRYKS could have broken that. Just, I mean, he ignored it once, and just a few amount of units caused Beaver a lot of headaches. They managed to deny an expansion. They managed to wound his increasing number of Blackjacks rather substantially, and yeah, like there was so many the Matador's drop was all right, but he didn't follow that up with really. He tried to do a sieged Phalanx drop, but then that got denied. He never tried it again. The repeated tiny piddlings of Blackjacks against the expansion didn't really do anything but keep his army from becoming critical mass. It slowed him down rather than slowing down HelltRYKS. So I think that Beaver maybe like, after the initial success with the Vultures, he was in quite a strong position, but then maybe didn't really read well what position he was in after that in comparison to what the Puros had, because Puros' army was doing so much more damage than he was all throughout the point up until he had the Paladins. So, not able to land decisive blows until that point, and like Blackjack's being so separated from the phalanxes and those attacks is really the big thing. It wasn't like he committed super heavily to them. It was that units were just pissing in and dying terribly. So I felt like that there was definitely opportunity for HelltRYKS to pull out that one. And now we're up against DarkenedFantasies, and there's the hidden fulcrum.
There's a tickling
Very
happening
secret.
as well.
Yes, this is repeated
and that
tickling.
might, at this point, I think, the tickling on the pylon is added bonus as well. But I think at this point, DF should be suspicious, right? The fulcrum is hidden. What's going on? The Mason's in
Where's
my base.
the star pad?
Yes, yeah. There's got to be something, right? So he's gonna go ahead and try to tickle
this
that.
Mason.
Yeah.
Oh!
Even Stevens.
First blood.
Yeah, DF claiming the first kill, but hey, this pylon is already down.
This pylon is down to almost 100 health.
Yeah, it's going to be at exactly.
Yeah, he will leave
half
it at
HP.
100 health.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if he had 2 Masons, he would have taken it down. Now, as you are aware, I was actually able to kill one of Luciferus's workers in one of the games, but he was Terran, so it didn't make like a tremendous difference. But when you think about it, if you know the timings and the map distances are short, you could hypothetically actually kill a pylon with 2 workers.
That's true.
And you send 2 scouts instead of 1. And that would at least force them to pull workers, or it could give you an absolutely tremendous advantage if you actually managed to pull that off.
Now, this
Killing
fulcrum
just
was
a Mason.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, this fulcrum is really late, I'm about to say, and the Drakenid is going to come up and get warded off by the stun at the very least. But, is there going to be a reaction? Well,
Beware of the lobsters.
A little bit of a reaction here.
I remember there is no such thing as concussive damage in this.
Yeah.
So while the vultures do attack a little bit slower than they used to, they are still actually dangerous against lone Draconids. So it's going to be Legionnaire, Drakenid. This is going to really come down to the placement of the lobsters, the wrath of the lobsters that can deny Legionnaires access to whatever Beaver has. Second gateway.
Quarry, meanwhile, as a response. And yeah, I think Beaver's just going to play a little bit more conservatively as opposed to pushing out with so many vultures. Second fulcrum is coming up, though. We know that DF really likes his embassies, but he's putting his early gas into ecclesiasts instead.
I think he wants to just go all in right away.
Yeah.
Be as aggressive as possible, reach a certain point, and not let Beaver get an expansion and start amassing whatever blackjacks he has planned.
Well, he's got some pretty good lobotomy mine coverage initially. That is going to stop the ground-based army from doing too much, but an embassy has been started in the main. So we now know DF is going to plan on gathering vision, using the witnesses, scrapyard in the top fulcrum coming up. Not really a surprise there, and a star pad now coming out for Beaver. Obviously does like his Anseal play, but neither player going for an expansion in the early stages of the game, and with the quarry out sooner than the embassy, that does mean that the worker count is going to start stretching in favor of Beaver. It's also, it's kind of interesting, right? But I almost feel like from not only one competitor to another, but one map maker to the other. DF picked a map made by the Beaver. I wonder if there's going to be some sort of egoing thing going on there,
Well, there are Ecclesiasts in a route. I think that once he reaches some magic internal number of what he feels comfortable with here, he will be looking to be aggressive. He may wait for the witness to confirm the defenses, but this to me doesn't seem like something he really wants to sit on.
Oh, look at this, though. Perhaps blindly going for Matadors. It's probably going to be a drop. That's what seems to be happening. But the Matadors would be excellent against the Legionnaires, assuming they had some backup.
This is what, Lobster Mines and then Matadors, they can really split up DF's forces. On the other hand, if the Matadors drop here while all the Legionnaires are within defense distance, the Legionnaires can probably ward that off with all the other units in the Ecclesiasts.
Yes.
So a good case for Beaver would be to E-hand timing a drop while these units are actually off in the middle of the map. And that may end up happening. I'm not sure yet. Kind of looks like DF maybe
he's thinking about a move
to
out,
take this expansion, but I think I think the witness is going to determine what he does.
It's not going to see
he's not going to spot.
Yeah.
No.
So
there will be an expansion here. He is saving for it. I really am expecting him to move out once this witness detects that there's nothing in here, but I don't know. DF did say he hadn't done any practice before then, so maybe he's feeling a little bit more defensive.
Yeah, I think that Ehan timing is quite possibly what's going to happen here. The Nexus does go down. That might convince DF to stick around a little bit longer, but even still, this distance to cross with the Matadors, there could be a lot of scribes killed.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not moving out. I really was expecting him to move out. He might be suspicious of something because he doesn't see many units, but it's already too late. The Matadors have landed. The feet are on the ground. Scribes are on fire.
Well, the big Protoss army is also charging in, but that is going to be quite a few dead scribes.
You get a couple Legionnaire kills in here because they were a little bit separated and they're getting kind of stuck on each other. Yeah. So that's not nothing. That basically pays for the Matadors.
Yeah, on top of all the worker damage, right? And the reaction from DF was a little slow even after he started getting attacked. So he's now down by, of course, 12, by the way, workers. Does have about to get a third worker production queue, and obviously does have the embassy, but it was previously training witnesses. And the witness will catch the vulture move out. So his army is, surprisingly to Beaver probably, in a position to catch this. But the vultures are still going to be somewhat
DF
lethal.
can easily win this if he commits, but he's a little scared of the vultures for some reason. I'm not sure why he didn't commit.
Yeah, he had vision with the
committing
witness
army.
too. Yeah, so
This is the army that has to commit. It's all Legionnaires, and once he commits, he sticks. So pulling back kind of gives Beaver right away. Now, Beaver's Trojan also scouted this Nexus when it was flying back away from the main. So that, I think, is what prompted him to move out. And now his vultures are in a position to harass that if they want to, but Beaver might be waiting to see what the army does.
Yeah. I think with the witness positioning there to see the mines and then see the absence of vultures, DF now has that sort of, okay, I know what you're doing. You're going to try to flank me. And he's going to even see the vultures move out as that happens, right? So these units aren't going to get too much else done, but they will go ahead and drop a couple of additional mines. They were actually stacked there on top of each other, so even though they pop one, the other one does go to town and effectively stun. Another embassy. So the embassy has not been training scribes this whole time to try to catch back up here. It's been training additional witnesses. So that's important to note. Ecclesiasts are going to start getting popped, but that obviously does increase the movement speed of the units to allow them to catch up here. So, okay, you traded one Ecclesiast essentially for 3 vultures, and the other 3 are being sent home. More witnesses again. Gathering some
charges forward into the sea of lobsters.
Well, he pops most of them.
Every single lobster.
Almost got the last one as well. That witness does get zoned out in the natural meanwhile, and does confirm additional, okay, yeah, there's definitely going to be some harvesting happening over here. There's no envoy, just more witnesses in production, wants to really blanket the map there. And meanwhile, Beaver's floating a ton of money. He's going to go ahead and drop additional fulcrums. As 3 more coming online, 2 of them very close at this point. And, still a fairly threatening army. It can't really break Beaver, but it can certainly convince him to stay at tier 1 a little bit longer. Which is really surprising considering the economic advantage that he's got. Really, once again, in control of the game.
I think Beaver is feeling the pressure about that. And I think that's more or less DF's intent at this moment, is just to maybe apply pressure. He might have suspected like an early tier 2 or something, but Beaver has shown at this point that he is basically the Benno of Blackjacks. And Blackjack and Goliath is probably going to be a staple at this point. And, if he gets a large number of them, at that point, the Legionnaires are not going to be able to engage anymore. There's going to be too much upfront damage.
Yes, yeah.
So DF doesn't really gain too much from the contain at the moment, other than delaying tier 2. He's not able to all in this. Maybe he could come around the back and try to make something happen by getting the feet to lift off and trying to do whatever. Witnesses are going to scout these forces coming around here, and he's going to be aware of that, but it seems like he doesn't really want to move out away. He might build some wardens or something.
He's still very behind in workers, but he is going to go ahead and try to take a 3rd base. And yeah, I think there's so many witnesses being built. He's not taking advantage of the extra production queue and not particularly saturating his natural anyway. He's starting to rally more workers down that way, but yeah, definitely, again, this is advantage Beaver. He's about to tech up. He's got the money to do so. And as a result of that, that is going to give him a nice tempo advantage. He still has units on the other side of the map, so he can even start to contest this.
Beaver could actually take a bunch of scribe kills off of this because there's nothing in this nat. All he has to do is just walk. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he's going to just charge forward
what was going to happen.
Do even more damage. Yeah, the reaction time very, very low.
DF knew that this was coming, too. Yes. He saw it coming.
He just somehow didn't
move any of his units out.
Yeah. He's
still
pulling his middle army instead of the rally point, so they're even going to get some some damage dealt to the Nexus. Now it looks like it'll just be superficial after all. Going to go ahead and move to the left. This is going to confirm a third base is being attempted, but that's a lot of worker kills. You know, that's something like 6 or 7 worker kills. Totally unnecessary. You did scout it and just didn't anticipate it. Didn't update your rally points to defend the main, or the natural rather. He does put a pylon south of his Nexus a little while ago in his main. The thing to note about that is kind of interesting is the Trojan is out and has been for a while, right? He did drop once, but he hasn't dropped again. And DF kind of gambled that it wouldn't happen again because he has no defenses. So another thing to note.
There is a lot of Goliaths, Matadors, and Vultures moving out. Again, no clear clerics are sustained besides the Antseal, which is probably going to die here.
one shot away. It doesn't get. It does finally fall. Okay, and yeah,
this is a great spot for DF though to be on this ramp here. So he managed to be in the right spot at the right time.
Just a little bit of tickle. Yeah, the pathing there is not too hot for him. It's because you go from a wide ramp to a short ramp in this transition here for the height. That's definitely causing some headaches there for the retreat.
Some lobsters here could have helped.
Yeah, a lot of the vultures have them too, so they could.
There's just this random zealot just inside of his army, just trying his darnest to get away and getting stuck.
Yeah.
And that almost body blocked some of the Goliaths. Like if DF was really on the nose with that.
Back, so.
Nope.
Yeah, that's some unfortunate unit control. At the front line, there are some vultures and a blackjack trying to do some damage, but it just trades a vulture or 2 vultures for a single. Looks to be the Ecclesias there. Yeah, so... Oh, it's actually...
Tickling continues. Some kills here. You know, every little bit counts at this point, especially when they're in the more expensive units.
Yeah, it's 50 gas a pop for the Ecclesia, so it's not nothing to kill a couple.
It's not really any, like, preemptive lobster placement, though. Like, most of these vultures are dying with all their lobsters intact. So, a lot of potential damage is lost when you're backtracking against that. You want to be backtracking across your minefields.
Yeah, let them come to you, zone it, keep most of your units alive in that context, and maybe pick off some of the units that are unfortunate. And particularly in that choke fight right there that we just saw, I mean, think about all of the body blocking that would have happened from stunned units, you know, being isolated and able to be picked off, you know, splitting the army to some degree. And, you know, there are some mine placements happening now, but it's a little bit late, and DF's army is on the march.
That lobster bit him instead.
Yeah, not anymore coming down. He's starting to lay them a little bit more defensively. Has no anchors. I mean, he's got 1, but it's back at his gnats, so he would need to be lifted off and moved over. And
he can definitely afford them.
Well, yeah, he's got plenty of resources there, and he's also not spreading his minefields out either. So this is a very scary, you know, Protoss infantry, you know, gateway cenotaph army, and there's not really much to accept it, right? It's just even though he had
a ramp, he can't throttle them.
He's
now just going to be easily overwhelmed by this.
And again, this is kind of like, oh, I did so much worker harassment. I should have potentially been able to do stuff. But, you know.
DF never really lost his army. So
he
just continued to slowly reinforce it, whereas Beaver's army died in very silly ways.
Well, he knows that there's only a single anchor up here thanks to his great coverage of the witnesses. And something that, again, was a possibility for Beaver to contest. Did have the Antseals out, but...
Just patrolling an Antseal around with a couple Goliaths or something like that here and there would probably catch a chunk of these.
Yeah, DF knows he can make this fight happen. He just needs to position a little bit ahead of time and move the Legionnaires in first. But he's actually falling back. I'm not quite sure. Did you...
He's wary of the 1 vulture. Oh, it died.
It did die. I wonder what is going on there. What's he doing?
He's intimidated by the feet. He does not want to be stepped on. He is not fond of Sonic's socks.
He's given a lot of
witnesses.
Yes, this is giving Beaver a lot of time to potentially stabilize here and start using the tier 2. He's starting to add palladiums.
You might want this expansion. He might be going around to the back instead.
He's really hunting down individual vultures that are moving around here. Yeah, he is going to go ahead and target the bottom right. It looks like there's not any defenses there, which, you know, this looks really bad, especially since the Sentinels are only now being put together. That's a lot of minerals, 250 a pop. Remember, so yeah, caught with his pants down here, but. At the very least, we get to look at the cool new Cyclops render and the cool new Blackjack render. So, you know, it's not all lost.
I think he saw the feet and he was intimidated because he's so used to seeing Cyprians just melt everything on ramps. But it's 2 vultures in there, so it's not as dangerous as it looks.
Yeah, and the Sentinels didn't get up in time either, despite Beaver having so much money. Still 2K in the bank, starts to spend a little bit of it, queuing up presumably some more units. Yeah, a couple Phalanxes and Matadors coming out. Some of this army is being split while they kill the workers in the treasury, so at the very least, he's actually clearing out a lot of the squishy targets here, which is quite effective. So he's going to have to force him, his way a little bit back. Opportunities to continue tickling some of the Ecclesiasts down, but not going to make it happen. And there you go, a single lobster on the way out.
Additional Legionnaires are being sent or rallied over to this bottom, but they're going to run right into the front. Oh, but that good response. Didn't let the feet claim any steppings. Well, individual units are, however, following the other forces into certain lobstery doom. There is the Nexus down in front of DF, although he hasn't really saturated that one on the top left either. So economically speaking, he's still not really as strong as he should be at the moment for what he owns. There's so many witnesses going to watch this single file of Matadors blocking everything from getting past them. It's like you're on the highway and you're trapped behind two big rigs and they're both shouting at each other over their windows. And they're just going to run face first into 1,000 Legionnaires.
Yeah, the Matadors don't deploy either, so a lot of missed opportunity for damage dealt to the Legionnaires. The reaction time very, very slow there, and that might be the nail in the coffin if more choices are made to really progress this forward. But Sentinels are being built. Phalanxes are deployed. We're kind of in a stabilized game that is in favor of, nobody, really, if you think about it, because Protoss are usually ahead by a base. So
DF needs to start saturating these bases, and then he can catapult himself into Tier 3 if he wants to. Building something like Demiurges or Obtectons or Archons, something that can just force this down immediately. He could do that with the gas he's got, for sure. And Miralzy, he could drop 2 Templar Archives right now and build those high units with the economic advantage he has. He is going to go for Grand Libraries, though. I don't feel like that's as decisive. I feel like he has the possibility to go for broke, go straight to Tier 3. And he is starting to work on that front nexus, but the one on the top left still has 3, which is 3 idle scribes. His Legionnaires are hanging down into the bottom right here to deny this expansion from being rebuilt.
Hey, there was a single Matador there, so some
and some lobsters. He can't forget them.
Will he cancel the treasury is the question.
He might try to pincer this front here when he sees. Yes, he's going to try to move on onto the front. There are, however, a bunch of phalanxes out in the front, so.
The Matador not plays super well, but is actually occupying the Drakenins. The Ecclesiast deaths do allow the Drakenins to escape without incurring too many more losses, and a big army did get cleaned up in the bottom right. So fairly back and forth. And remember, I mean, Beaver doesn't have 1,000,000 bases like he's used to, potentially. So in this position, yeah, okay, you've got some Palladiums, you've got some Phalanx production, but you don't have critical, sustained amounts of Blackjacks anymore.
Yeah, he can't really move out too easily with this because the Legionnaires can just surround all of his tanks when they're out in the open.
Yeah.
But DF, again, he's got the 2 Grand Libraries. They're not doing anything at the moment. Yep. I feel like some Archons would have just been all he needed just to push into here and just get it done.
Well, the Treasury will go ahead and scout out the positioning. It's not in range of the Phalanxes to be tickled.
Blackjacks die a miserable death.
Classic move.
He's going to try to push into here, whereas that Treasury will hold up his right side army if it was going to join that.
Right. Well, they are indeed coming in now, yeah. Surrounding the Sentinels and getting some splash
damage. The feet finally go down.
Only a
it took everything DF had. He finally overwhelmed the feet. The phalanxes slowly fall one by one. A lobster bites but explodes. That didn't even hit anything. It died.
Yeah, it got killed by splash. I think with a phalanx shot did it. And the GG is called. So DF will go up 1-0. Despite some shaky early starts, again, Beaver could have pressed the advantage and was indeed in the lead a lot there, and Protoss just held on.
Again, that's kind of like where Beaver's weaknesses will be is when the momentum of the game starts getting a little fast, he kind of seems to lose track, right? Like, that's when the consistency breaks, is when he loses that comfort spot. And again, we started to see small groups of units just kind of like marching off to their death for whatever reason. That prevented him from really reaching critical masses of units, in this case, enough to fight the Protoss up front at that point. And then at that point, the Grand Library didn't even really... I don't think he even built anything from it to the end.
Amaranths, and they didn't join the fight, so yeah.
Yeah, so... it didn't really matter what DF built to that point, but he just had enough regular units just to overwhelm it, because at that point, Beaver had lost so many of his base units, he didn't have anything to tank for the tanks anyways.
Yeah, he needed to maybe have slightly less phalanxes, but slightly more warding off. And he still could have potentially come back at that point. But yeah, his spending was not on point. He had 2,000 floating minerals when he lost his third for like the first time, I guess, before it was attacked again. So, well, we do indeed have Equilibrium selected by Challenger HelltRYKS. This will be our, I think this is our first Protoss versus Protoss in the whole like tournament saga. So that'll be interesting to see. Do a ready check here.
I'm going to need some coffee for this one.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. There's likely going to be some silly strategies. I don't think DF realizes HelltRYKS is Protoss. Did he not watch the first game? That's okay. He'll figure it out. Okay. Well, he's a goofball, I think. Raged. Absolutely. All right, well, we gotta wait for the crew to rejoin now, so that's really silly. For those keeping score, I did see in the chat people were talking about PVZ. Big deal coming up. We have a guaranteed Protoss out of this group and a guaranteed Protoss out of the next group. The odds of 3 Crow going up against a Protoss player are very high. So just so you guys know. It pretty much almost certainly will happen. But we'll see. See what happens. Mesk, welcome back. There was a goofball moment where DF thought he was fighting against Beaver again. So he left the game because he thought Beaver didn't pick the right race. Very silly. I guess Mesk isn't fully back. He just joined the game. Anyway, we have DF in the top right. And we have HelltRYKS in the bottom left. And this is Dark Lavender against Coral, with HelltRYKS being the Lavender, DF being the Coral. He was Japanese Violet in the previous game. That's a color he likes. I think. So in this Protoss versus Protoss on Equilibrium, we are going to be seeing some interesting action. I can almost guarantee you. See who gets the pylon first.
So I did see there was a restart. Had to run to the bathroom, but
yeah, it was silly. DF thought that he was fighting against Beaver somehow, so he was like, "You picked the wrong race." Left the game because of that. So that was pretty silly. Yes, we do have this Protoss versus Protoss matchup on Equilibrium. We are going to see, the only deviation so far are pylon placement.
No proxies, no life.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I actually don't think either of these players are going to do anything non-standard, but, gateway opener from DF.
I don't know. I mean, DF has done an Anthelian rush.
I say that, but there's 100 gas in the bank for HelltRYKS. He's clearly planning something.
Yeah, he's got some gas. I don't know. I think he just likes to have gas. I mean, I can appreciate that, especially before. You just never had gas. You always had to have it. Just always mine it, even if you're not going to use it early on. Okay. Oh, I'm going to make nothing but Mavericks. Yeah, just mine gas. You're going to need it.
You know what might happen here? No, okay. He goes to he's gone a Stargate opener. I thought for sure he was going to just start dropping an engram in the face of DF. I was so convinced that might happen. So.
Well, Stargate first can work.
Yeah.
I've used it against Nablime. Shambler has used it. In fact, Shambler and I both went Stargate first against each other. It's just I had a gateway first, so I ended up having critical mass of areas a lot later than he did, but actually ended up costing me the
what the
ended up costing me the game.
Ah, he's got him on the way out.
Got him.
Oh,
Man of my heart. Unfortunately, there is an Ecclesiast out, which it was beautiful. I did like it. Absolutely appreciated it. Now, he would have scouted that. It's going to be a Aurora first, not exactly the overwhelming damage you would hope to get early in the game, but they can be kind of a nuisance. In my Shambler game, he didn't do too much with it because it just built a bunch of Wardens, but once you start getting a bunch of Panoptises out with them,
yeah,
then it becomes a lot harder to deal with it if you don't have any real damage, because it gets hard to really focus targets in them. So he's still making Ecclesiasts. So, I mean,
the range is not beneficial there, right? They're even range, which, you know, with air units, you want the advantage in mobility. You have the advantage in mobility. So maybe the Cenotaph can go straight into a Hierophant, but not really banking a lot of gas for that. 75 gas for a Hierophant.
I mean, normally when I see the Stargate, I think it's going to be at a Panoptis first, but
oh, he could have.
I have spammed Auroras before, just not early into the game. I think the second a Hierophant comes out, well, it's a Legionnaire currently, but a Hierophant can easily shut this down. It's just not much damage. If you're gonna show up with this, you'd rather it be unexpected and have like 3 of them, kind of like Wraiths, so you can just start really picking off workers and then force them to chase you around and scramble to respond. It is double Stargate, and there is a Panoptis en route. The problem is that it takes so much gas. So the second Stargate is inactive for a very long time. He can probably continue to make Auroras with it, but he isn't at the moment. He's just kind of like running around, like pulling the hairs out of DF's nose. Not really accomplishing too much at the moment, but if he does manage to get several Panoptis, or a large number of Auroras, it definitely can deal some damage. There is no Hierophant on the way yet. Doesn't really have the money for it.
I don't think he respects the attack there. He knows that he can just walk straight in with his ground army, but you know, he does have a Warden on the way, and he can save his Draken in there. So.
If it continues to make Panoptises and he doesn't respond to them,
yeah, there's
going to be so much upfront damage.
Yeah.
There is a Hierophant coming.
Okay, does recognize the threat posed by that, and he can even queue up a second one if he wants. He's got the gas for it, but so far just queuing up additional.
HelltRYKS is a little worried about this all-in before you can hit a comfortable mass. He's building a Warden there.
Yeah, he should probably be still flying around with the Auroras just to see what's going on, what the army comp is looking like.
Yep.
You can most likely escape even a single Hierophant tag if the other units aren't available to help you there, because you can just fly over the cliff and the Hierophant can't continue attacking. So it's quite possible.
Just going to be hard in a Panoptis. Well-controlled Panoptis can be a lot of damage. He just has to watch out for the Hierophant. I mean, honestly, depending on how this goes, if DF doesn't call out the hard Stargate commitment, which he is getting an embassy, so he will eventually know. But if all he has at that point is mostly Legionnaires and Ecclesiasts, that is not enough to deal with like 6, 7, 8 Panoptises. Like if he just has a chunk of them, plus some Auroras, he can just fight up front.
Well, he doesn't realize that he left his second Panoptis back at home, and there's actually a third one. So he's now going to go ahead and pull them. But yeah, even 3 Panoptises is still a considerable amount of damage, right? It's 20, what is it, 26, 24? Yeah, so no armor pen on them, but still pretty considerable.
He doesn't really want to engage. He doesn't have the rest of his forces there, so he's going to kind of show his hand.
Uh-oh.
Take some damage here, really unnecessarily. He
he
even
just outright lost
one.
it because of his poor unit control. So
man, that's a disaster.
If he just went directly down, he would have been fine. But he went diagonal and allowed the forces to continue to.
That's 250 minerals and 100 gas, and a lot of time.
Yep.
That really kills his momentum at this point.
He's just going to double up into defenses, but again, this means he's not making any economic play. So yeah, sure, you might ward off the initial attack. I'm not even convinced that that's going to happen. You might do that. You could go with a land effect to disable the ramp or something, so that way they can't, attack in with your.
I mean, it's double Hierophant at this point.
Yeah.
I think that unless DF really seriously bungles this, it should be an easy sweep. He could get really screwed up by pathing if these Wardens split up his army and then the Panoptises are able to snipe all of his ranged units. But there's only 3 of them and a handful of Auroras, so the last thing HelltRYKS wants to do is fight this army out in the front, that's for sure. But I think DF got cold feet.
Well, he's got the Witness on the way, so he'll definitely be able to detect what's happening. And a Rogue Gallery is going to be added to the repertoire of HelltRYKS, so.
I mean, if you're going to do something cheesy, this is precisely what Shambler does. He also went Stargate into Rogue Gallery too. It's because, well, you may as well.
Wonder if those replays were given over to him or something, and he was able to study up. That's what makes me think. Either way,
the problem is that it's so gas intensive. And each loss from either of those buildings really hurts. And he hasn't even made any motion towards securing that base, and he really can't because it's just going to get all in if he does.
Oh, this could be really
bad. He wants to move here,
bad.
but the witness sees it, so he's going to run right face first.
Reaction time not really there. I think the Aurora will get picked off as well. Not moving laterally against him. Yeah, there you go. He figures it out. Even with
Hierophant attack is like being hit with a piece of newspaper, so they're not really going to secure too many kills on their own. And there's only like 3 Drakenins, so I mean, most of the army's damage is going to come through the sustained damage of the Ecclesiast at that point, but
yeah, you actually could focus down the Drakenins here, but I think he might not realize his level of power and certainly wants to continue working on it.
He has an additional Panoptis and an Aurora, all well within sight of that witness.
He's basically got all his whole... He went home for the group photo at this point. That's what he did. Nexus finally coming down for him, but that's after DF's is already complete, and he's got some defenses there.
No, there's Kabbalists out, but there's already witnesses.
Yes.
So long as DF keeps the witnesses with him, they aren't going to do too much. Those units are deceptively powerful, and I believe they've been updated since I last used them on top of it. It is still 40 damage. You can still surround things and burst them down. In the Shambler versus Benno game that I watched, I figured that all you need was about 6-7 Kabbalists, and you could easily deal with an anchor inside of a mineral line because you can snipe it before they can repair it. And it is a lot of burst damage within those units, and I think they're actually tanky right now. They have 90 health.
Cancels it out. Well, the thing about them is that they teleport directly onto the enemy units now, similar to Legionnaires, but only while they're cloaked. So
you don't want to dive into the middle of that army, though. You gotta wait for the army to engage you and then counter-engage. Flying into it, not so good.
Well, the Wardens are certainly helping, and the Kabbalists can fend off the Legionnaires before they can really pick off the Wardens. So I think DF has actually waited a little bit too long, and he's not going to be able to do too much here. Aurora's even doing some split damage, and yeah, there goes all of the Ecclesiast, all of the Legionnaires, and it's just going to be the Hierophants and Drakenins now, with the Kabbalists charging on forward to deal plenty of damage themselves.
A lot of their damage is going under the Warden, which is really superficial. It allows the air army to escape with most of its damage potential intact. HelltRYKS is immediately going to go on the offensive.
He can shut down all the production with a single pylon snipe if he goes for it.
Yeah. It kind of looks like he might end up going to the natural, which would be a mistake because it's going to be way more defended or do nothing.
Well, yeah, it's just that DF can't respond to the pylon snipe if it comes in. Even though he has units here, he kills an Aurora.
His whole main is 2 pylons.
Yeah. So.
And diving into the expansion is definitely not what he wants to do. He wants to go for the main, but he doesn't know that yet because he hasn't scouted it again.
And the Ecclesiast, or the Witness rather, is just following along the army at this point, right?
Yeah.
This is PVT vibes, actually, just following your army around with a Witness. Oh, what is that?
Yeah, I figure at this point you would see the Shimmer and then be like, well, I don't want really to know where my stuff is. He is indeed making his own witnesses. So
yeah, he has one,
sure
and he's going to try to hunt around for the base, but okay, you can see that they're literally covering the whole map. Sure, you can maybe try to kill him, but it's going to actually escape.
Auroras are not particularly... He thinks he's killed it, but
no,
he hasn't, because Auroras are not exactly amazing killing machines. He's going to spend like half an hour chasing this one witness down.
Yeah, this is a lot of APM, but, he doesn't have the...
DF wasn't actually really paying attention.
Well, because
he was focused more on the army.
The problem is, even with the Hierophant slow, the Kabbalists can still close the distance with their cloaking, So, yeah, at this point, you've only got Hierophants. Similar to Aurora's, not the best. But also, at the same time, you do have not really that many reinforcements at this stage. And
chasing this is dangerous. HelltRYKS could easily turn with the rest of his army on this. It's Hierophants. They deal 8 damage.
Similar to the
They're
Aurora.
not going to be killing a Panoptis anytime soon.
Right. Well, that's why
we got some Vagrants and additional air units coming in.
Starting to transfer some workers over to the natural, but HelltRYKS is super far behind.
DF is spamming Hierophants, and it doesn't make them do more damage. He wants Drakens if he's going to be sticking to... no, that is what he's doing. I was looking at his money, I was like, he has so much money, why isn't he spending it? I looked and saw 3 grand libraries. That is just how much money he had, that he was able to afford 3 grand libraries and still had 500 something minerals left over. So that'll be crabs for sure. And that'll deal quite handily with this, just because of their splash. Oh, he's finally gone for the pylon, but there was a second pylon built.
He's actually going to go for
commit
it,
to this.
Which is a little bit bold. I mean, he could turn around with the Auroras and try to
two Drakedens. Yeah. It's two Drakedens. He can still fight this for sure, but not when he loses the Panoptists. That now he can't really fight this anymore. He needed to pick off the one that was already low, because a couple of them are at like half health.
Yeah, one of them was one hit away. It was literally 3 HP, but didn't get focused. It's also an unfamiliar strategy for HelltRYKS to task a witness around his own army to defeat other witnesses. And he's just not noticing the shimmer there, and hasn't cleared his own base even, or his nat. So DF has perfect info at this point, pretty much. Not only does he know where his army is, but he's also going to go for Atriuses to counter that, considering the splash and the the clump up nature of air units.
Now, microed Panoptists are still going to wipe the floor with Atriuses, because it's not like Atriuses are super mega tanky compared to Drakedens. It's just they deal slightly less damage and it's in splash. So as long as you move in quickly and hit them, you can kill them. But so long as DF keeps them behind the Hierophants, that is really hard to do, and diving them can be a really major mistake. So engaging this point before the air units reach too big of a number is a good idea. Some of these Atriuses are going to get picked off here, but as long as he kites them through the Hierophants, he can force a trade out of it at the very least.
Yep.
And that is going to be the end of the Air Force. Their damage all got split up at the end of it, too, on top of it.
Yes, yeah, they did not focus very heavily on pretty much anything there.
And DF avenges his witness on top of it. At this stage, it's going to be hard to break this. There's too many Hierophants, so the individual air units are just going to get immediately paralyzed by them.
Yeah, the warden placement is also not particularly stellar either, so... Trades the warden for 2 legionnaires, and he's going to reestablish control with his witnesses, although I'm not sure that it's required. But yeah, he's being very conservative. He's not sure yet what he's doing there. Now again, I mean, at this stage, if you're in DF's shoes, you can just keep pumping out the Atriuses. You can just keep continuing the move. You can play a little bit slowly, but that almost cost him against the, in the Beaver game just earlier. So maybe he also wants to try to finish it a little bit faster. We'll see what he thinks.
Well, he's certainly at a point, because he's thinned out the majority of air units, that he has kill threat, especially on this base. All he really has to do is take out the Nat and just to stifle the gas income. I mean, not that he's mining gas from it, but in a hypothetical situation, he can stifle the gas income, and that's less Panoptists to deal with. Never mind the fact he's not actually mining this at the moment. He could have a 3rd Stargate pumping Panoptists to help restore his army at the moment, but he's not. Yeah, he's going to move in here, but his army is going to get a little bit confused by those wardens. Just kind of separate here, and there's not enough damage to really threaten the crabs yet, but the wardens, again, just getting lots of kills in. Really paying for themselves at that point. These Atriuses not really respecting that ledge at all.
Now,
but he doesn't finish it off, and that's a lot of wasted damage potential, and he loses everything for it.
Well, he is picking off the, some of the Hierophants and such, but at that point, you need to be able to finish the job, right? And that's just
you need to kill the damage dealers.
Right.
The Hierophants are just there just to protect them as much as they can.
There's no other tech coming here. He's going to task his workers back on the minerals, but only on one base. DF's got 2 fully saturated bases. Military advantage.
Still intimidated by the wardens.
His only
he
combat
can see
unit,
them, but he had to run into them anyways.
His only unit that counts towards military is the witness, by the way. That's it. So.
I mean, and you just put an engram on that ledge and just put an end to this shenanigans, at least for like another 5 minutes.
3rd base being taken by DF, meanwhile. Relatively close by as well. Probably wants to drop some production over there based on the scribe positioning. Faster rallies. Sequestered icon.
HelltRYKS is so starved from this. He needs... Like, at this point, Architects would be great just to hold that.
Yes.
It's well beyond his reach, but Panoptists really need their mobility to shine, and there's too much control and too much beef on DF's side for them to really be relevant anymore. And really, you can't go to the Architects at this point, but you could get Cantavis's, and that would be still some range damage that could be useful, but it's too little too late.
Yeah, at this point, the final push is in. I think DF has enough to overwhelm it. Not really great focus, but neither from HelltRYKS either, who could be group selecting his wardens and tasking them onto individual units. Some of his Atriuses are being moved over to this right side by pathing, thanks to pathing. And
yeah,
really
the damage is
difficult.
really split up here, which is letting HelltRYKS get a lot of mileage out of those wardens and the vagrants.
He only killed, what, 2 wardens in that whole fight. So yeah, okay, the military is taken care of, but yeah, 100% could have been a little bit better there. He pulls back the shades,
these
but those
crabs
guys, so.
are gonna die a disgusting death.
Again, not focusing down any one structure.
I think that they moved into there and he didn't even realize it at first. I think his attention was elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have them selected.
Right. Well, he's trying his best to micro.
This is a death by tickles.
Yeah.
It's like getting beaten to death with a limp sausage. It's actually going to be in a Cantor, so it seems like his idea was sort of similar.
I'm glad the Witness V-Witness fight is still happening, still going strong. And another, oh, that's a pylon, okay. He's worried about getting, you know, sniped. He's still going for only wardens. I mean, a Matrix wouldn't help him out that much right now, but like you said, engrams would really help. He just needs to bank the gas for it. And, you know, again, he's decisively worse off economically. DF is definitely showing some, you know, weaknesses, you can say, in terms of, like, being able to close the game.
Triple Cantavis out of DF, actually, which is interesting because there's not really a lot of units to storm at the moment.
No, he might just want to go for, like, a drop or something, or...
That's what I figured. I don't think he has an envoy.
He doesn't have an envoy right now, and neither does HelltRYKS, who could be using the Cantor potentially, but wants to use it defensively instead, and it will be quite effective defensively.
I mean, he probably saw all the wardens before and was like, well, dropping that is probably not going to go too well.
Right.
Double Cenotaph from HelltRYKS, so...
Yeah, maybe wants to spend some minerals on Legionnaires of his own. I don't know how useful that would be. Oh!
Oh, he's spotted the peepers. Oh. Oh. Another bites the dust. But there's so many more.
So, yeah. I think maybe DF also really overvalues the perfect information, potentially. Like, you know, as he builds his game sense using this tactic, he should be able to get a better understanding of how effective and you know, like how potent the army really is. What is the potential? Now, an Envoy has been
Again, I feel like
HelltRYKS.
DF undervalues the tier 3 options that are available to him with the money that he has or had.
Yes.
He could go towards Optectons, Archons, you know, something with a little bit more range. It's a little more suited for dealing with this ramp rather than sending in the same units that are having difficulties with it. This is not a very well defended ramp. There isn't walls upon walls upon walls. He's getting cucked by the ramp. So you put yourself in a position where you don't have to deal with the ramp. You can get Didax to recall. You can get air units just to deal with the fact that you have way more air than he has. There is actually an Cantor coming towards the top. And might be able to get some kills in on here as long as he stays clear of those wardens.
Yeah, a little bit of an awkward spot to find, but he does find a good spot to respond. And it's going to get 2 good shots off before it really goes kaput there. Doesn't need to withdraw, but the Hierophant tags the Envoy, so that will almost certainly be killed.
No!
Oh,
He could have gotten away, but he thought he was going to die, but he was actually going to escape because they weren't quite in range. But he dove into it for one final...
You know what he could have also done is killed 2 of the Cantavises with the Cantor shot, depending on what happens.
I think he was trying... I think that's what he wanted to do, was try to get a shot off on it, but... it wasn't actually really necessary. I think he would have gotten away.
Well, no attempt at successfully expanding here. Did drop the scribe there when he left with the Cantor.
It's just hidden in the corner. Nobody knows. Nobody's any the wiser.
Right. Dude, I really like that scribe positioning, honestly.
It is so good. I mean, the second he tries to build anything, I think that Witness is going to notice it, but...
Tickle. It was selected for a second, and then DF was like, "You can just die. I don't care." Then finally thought better of it. Yeah, the amount of military might that DF has, like, I don't see how HelltRYKS could possibly win this game. You know, he's about to deplete all of his mineral fields at home. He hasn't capped his geyser anyway, and it would be too expensive for him to do to begin with, I think. But, like, surely DF could have closed this game sooner, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And Atreus's are just not really good at sieging ramps. You need something beefy to force your way up it, or you just need to outrange them, or you need to get around them. And he is... Oh,
Oh, he figured it out.
Oh, no. Oh, no. He's been found.
It was clever. I mean, I would have just moved it to the top left if I was in that position.
Yeah.
DF hasn't.
I just feel like DF needs some more decisive firepower, but doesn't want to. I don't know if he just doesn't want to invest in it, or if he just doesn't feel like he needs it, or what. But
it's just it's not feasible for me to see how HelltRYKS could come back from this
no,
point.
I don't think he comes out of this. But it's really a matter of like how long will DF take to to force this down, because he hasn't even tried to force it down yet. I think at this point he can't. He's going to need either substantially more units, or he's going to need something that is actually well suited for the job here.
I mean, technically HelltRYKS has an army, so, but it's just there's witness coverage everywhere, and you know.
Seems like DF kind of wants to go in now. Now this army is very small and just going to melt. Maybe get not even get one Atreus.
Yeah, it didn't do that. Some of the other units, meanwhile, did get quite tickled, and maybe HelltRYKS will just see this in GG, because this is pretty much everything he has. He's trying to withdraw with the Acantor. The Hierophant was
jittering.
Yeah, turbo speed humping that Acantor, just telling him to get up the ramp. Back to a defensive, safe place.
Now, I think HelltRYKS is brave enough to try to take this expansion, surrounded by 3 witnesses.
This is... Yeah.
Will DF take this laying down, or is he's making amaranths now, so he realizes he needs a little bit more of a front line.
Well, the Acantors are still going to deal great damage to them. So.
Yeah.
Again, if you wanted to end this, grab those Cantavises. Where are they? They're in the main army. Throw an envoy out onto the battlefield.
Yeah, that back line is totally undefended.
I mean,
you'll probably kill your own witness, which would be sad, but...
Yeah. Well, he's making more right now instead of an envoy, so... Now, the Legionnaires do escape, and they charge on forward, and they're going to get some, some worker kills here. Hopefully. No, maybe not. Oh dear.
The pathing.
Hey, if he hold positions the Kabbalist in the corner, he could have maybe saved it there. Since there was surprisingly, there was no witness over here. So. The Nexus is nearly completed, so I guess,
it's going to complete just in time for DF to stamp it out.
Yeah.
Maybe DF is intentionally waiting for that. If he can't break him in body, he'll break him in spirit.
Still no envoy in sight.
I don't know. Maybe it's not quite in range of the witnesses. They are a little out to the side.
One of them is right to the left, so he can definitely see it.
Yeah.
No!
It begins. No, it ends.
What is DF doing?
DF is being sassed. He might win this game, but only at the cost of his own dignity at this rate.
Yes.
HelltRYKS is just tickling his scrotum every now and then, and it's just must be driving him mad that he can't finish this.
He could obviously...
Why is this so hard?
Yeah, why is it? It's really quite a quizzical...
He's got some amaranths. I mean, I think with those amaranths alone, he should just be able just to suicide them onto the Acanors, and then just force everything next to the cliff, and then kill the Wardens and be done with it, but...
He's taking so many bases, but he refuses to get new tech.
Just at this point, you may as well go for Inthalians.
Yeah.
It might be faster.
He's got all the gas for it. So
he's got 2,000.
Oh, DF. Oh, DF. All right.
I mean, get like 8 epigraphs. Okay, he charges forward. Surely this time he'll put an end to the Warden menace. But there's additional Wardens down in the bottom. And that's real sad. The Acantor is getting 3 shots.
3 of them. That's 3.
Shit. That is 3. All of his units are getting stuck onto them and are running into the wall of Wardens, dying miserably. That cliff is just...
What a massacre.
An absolute mess. He will indeed destroy this Nexus shortly after it was completed. But he is forced to retreat from that cliff. Absolutely buck-broken.
His amaranths
3 Acantor is wiggling aggressively.
Oh, they're wiggling all right.
At this point, DF destroying that expansion is more like, oh no, HelltRYKS, no, you don't want to do this. No.
Oh, HelltRYKS.
Oh no.
He's had enough. He's gonna
had
take him.
enough of this shit.
He's gonna fight him with the Acantos. And DF's not gonna respond. Oh.
Oh, he's dragging him into the Wardens. Bring them to the Holy Land.
Oh, one of them's gonna go down surely.
Oh, you know, if he actually kills all these units, Diff is
gonna.
no.
There's not enough damage to finish him off anymore.
He lost one at Candor, but he won the spiritual victory for sure.
Oh, he's got a third one and an envoy.
DF, my man, at this point, you should be considering building Star Sovereigns.
He's got the minerals for a Monument of Sin or 10. No, he spent a bunch of it. No, he just queued up units.
More witnesses. He doesn't have enough vision. Oh, he's gonna send out the envoy and ran face first into a matrix and a ward, and then DF owns the map. HelltRYKS may be wondering, where are the Star Sovereigns?
Yeah. Certainly wondering what's happening.
Oh,
no response.
oh no. Oh! No!
He defeated him with a single word. That's all it took this whole time. Absolutely unmistakable.
HelltRYKS should have forced him to take down that cliff.
I agree.
Down to the last warden. I think he could have held out for another 15, 20 minutes. DF wasn't making any motion to doing anything besides Atreus's and whatever. He was committed to the crab dream, but the thing is, man, wardens and Acantors, the holy combo.
All right, well, we managed to get it to a better spot, you know? See what Beaver decides as the next map. And surely this one will be different. Death Spiral is selected by the Beaver 99.
I don't know, man. That name looks more like the Lobster 99 to me.
Is that a lobster emoji or a crab emoji? Oh, there is a lobster.
It's a lobster to me.
There are two different ones. Okay. I didn't know if there were two different ones or not. Okay.
I don't know, man. I believed in HelltRYKS.
I did too.
He was the undefeated, the unbreakable.
Well, he technically didn't get broken, so.
Technically. Seriously, if he had a couple engrams on that ledge, I think DF would have been put in such an uncomfortable position he would have had to tech, and then the game would have actually ended sooner. But then we wouldn't have gotten to see him get sassed by those Acantors at the end either. That was sassy. Just creeping out of his base at the rate of drawing paint and dragging them into certain doom, flushing them down the toilet.
I don't know. DF is asking some questions about what to do next time, so that's why we're waiting on his ready. I mean, like, he definitely could have beaten that with Acantors. They're much more durable than you might expect them to be, considering the default stats from StarCraft 1. So, it's going to be a bathroom break. What happens? I think he could have even won that with Mass Vassals.
Oh yeah, Mass Vassals would have been great. Because then you avoid the entire problem, which is the choke point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I'm in that situation where I've got like 1 million minerals and I'm not sure how to break something, just spam Vassals.
Mm-hmm.
Vassals, at the very least, take shots for things that are more important. And you can't really underestimate their damage when you get like 20 of them in a tight bundle. And it's not like he had AoE to kill them.
Yeah, he had 0 AoE. He could have gotten Corsair land effect, I guess, but that's the only thing I could think of.
I mean, he was poor enough at that point that if you start forcing him to make land effects instead of Acantors, you're already winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think you're going to need a lot of land effects to kill like 200 vassals. The damage output of the vassals just will be high enough that they can kill anything that gets close to them.
The other really important thing about the vassal is that when it dies, it increases your speed for the other units in the area. So
yeah. They just swarm even faster.
That's a really big favor of using them in conjunction with the ground units that he had. I'm going to close the distance on the ramp a little bit.
No.
HelltRYKS, don't feel too bad about yourself there. That was mostly DF failing to close. But, you know, the early stages of that game, if we can try to remember what the early game looked like with the double Stargate opener, there definitely were opportunities for the Panoptis and Aurora armies to find some victory. At the very least, they could have certainly, when he answered back after, you know, using the Wardens to clear out the initial attack, the very first Gateway Cenotaph attack that ended up falling, there weren't really that many units left over, and unfortunately for HelltRYKS, his positioning of his, he moved his units to the natural. There was a lot of defenses there. He didn't try to go around and do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's
at this point, we'll see what happens.
Important to recognize that while Hierophants look large, they don't do nearly as much damage as Drakenons. So if you're in a case where you feel like you can fight, where you're worried about the Hierophants out damaging you, chances are they're not going to.
Hey, we got Beaver moving out with 2 Masons immediately, so he's planning something.
Oh, this is going to be dumb.
He's planned something. He's picked Death Spiral for a reason, and I wonder what that reason is.
I have a feeling it's going to involve death of some kind, and maybe even a spiral into Tism. I don't know, just the double Mason really just like screams to me like he might be doing something ever so slightly cheeky.
He's pathing a third one for a scout, maybe?
Oh, maybe.
I'm not sure actually.
There's no gas, so it's not going to be like.
No, it must be proxy.
Cyprians.
It must be proxy stockade into proxy anchor. And
or
then he could
he's
start
gonna
having...
just try to build Ahmed.
Is he gonna go for the pylon kill? That's what I want to know. He's gonna do it for the pylon kill. He knows what happened on Boskevine. He watched it back. He knows the commentary.
Oh, Beaver, this is so dirty. I love it. He has to pull to deal with it.
Hey, you can attack and repair. No? What's he doing? Repair.
No, you gotta repair. Oh, you gotta repair. Oh, the gig's up.
Well, meanwhile,
okay.
Stockade is close by, so
Stockade
there will be Ahmeds. He really wants to kill the pylon. He's so desperate about killing the pylon. It's not going to happen.
You had to do something about the...
Well, this is going to be a very dumb game. I can already tell you.
This is amazing.
Well, the two, hey, these workers aren't mining. There's 3 workers not mining inside the base. They rallied onto the mineral field. He thinks there's a different game. So actually, he's not got very much money.
Beaver, you gotta pull out. You gotta make it work. One in. The other is still... Oh, the scribe is just running in and just tickling him.
Okay, he fixed his workers. DF has fixed his workers. A single Ahmed is on the way. It's a Zealot first. It's possible. Ahmed could win. Well, the Mason does not stay alive, which is an unfortunate move because it obviously could have repaired the Zealot. Well, it could have repaired the Zealot.
Repaired the Zealot.
It could have also repaired the Huracan, and that did not happen.
Meanwhile, inside Beaver's...
Oh, sass! Again, he can move back at any point and, you know, do some kiting with the Ahmed. Well, the Drakenid finished, and that's going to wrap this one up. And up we go!
Tim has no idea where
No, he does know. He knows now. The scribe saw it.
Well, I was expecting him to spend like half an hour looking for it.
No, don't land it. What are you doing? Oh, gee. Oh, goodness. Oh, goober. All right, boys, we got an anchor
Well,
on
in
the
the
way.
meantime, Beaver gets a chance to make his main slightly less undefended.
He has 0 military units.
He doesn't need military units. He has a stockade flying around DF's base. DF is very, very intent on stopping it. That may as well be a military unit. It's going to tie him up for a long time.
Scribe rescout. Single Maverick will be completed soon. He's got an anchor.
I mean, the thing to do at this point would just be go straight to Starpad, but I think he's more worried about dying before he gets a chance.
He's only harvesting gas now. He hasn't harvested gas until now. So.
Still chasing the stockade. The Scribe encounters a Maverick. The Maverick hops into the bunker. The Scribe gets away. The Maverick hops out of the bunker. The Scribe continues on. Oh.
Well.
Meanwhile, the stockade has been cornered in the top left.
He could move a little bit more to get out of vision, but he's not doing it.
Yeah, he could sneak it up there. DF commits everything he has to destroying this up front.
Well, his Wounded Zealot is going to charge in and see what it can do. Not much, obviously, but... And there is a star pad coming, so you got to get your wish. Well, he fixes the placement of the stockade so it can't be attacked, but it will burn down. And the Zealot is warded off.
What will DF do in the face of such an atrocity? His pylon is missing health.
Yeah, 25.
A permanent reminder that you could at any point lose your pylon to 2 Masons at the beginning of the game very easily.
I really like that he went back and tried that.
That was beautiful.
I do appreciate it, but it did not work.
Now, DF is just going to go around to this other ramp because there's like 18 ramps that go into your base. And I think he's just going to immediately step on Beaver and it's just going to be over.
Well, the anchor's almost done. I mean, the second Cyprian can finish and just load right in there. So.
It's a Trojan that he's making, actually.
Yeah. He's not loaded his anchor, so it's not going to take free shots. Oh, there you go. Needs to repair that.
Got to repair it real quick, like.
And there's 5 Draconids here. The Maverick anchor needs to get a move on here, but instead the Mavericks are going to be undefended. And the Trojan will finish to help with the fight. He can do some drop micro.
He can, yeah, he can drop micro his Mavericks in between Drakenid shots.
What a way for DF to qualify. Oh wait, not yet, not yet. He's only going to go up to 3 matches here. He's had some real silly.
Man, he might lose this. I think Beaver can pull out. He's got this. All he has to do is just like survive for like another 20 minutes of non-stop harassment. Wait until DF doesn't know what to do against his wall, and then build items across the map.
Well, you know what? He's got the Trojan. If he gets another stockade, which unfortunately he did lose the other one, he can build Hurricanes. He can throw them into the Trojan and then drop them into the mineral line. I'm sure Beaver feels like this is...
It would be a spiritual victory. I mean, Cyprians would be just as effective, to be honest, if you can just get him behind the Scribes. It would be... Yeah.
Well, as soon as he does that...
Not the best timing for it. Now he's got to poop them all out again. He's got to slowly march over there.
How unfortunate.
That whole series of events was just... The Legionnaire is going to watch him build the next thing.
Oh, there was still one in there! He could have helped.
Legionnaire charges forward. The Legionnaire succumbs to the might of the Cyprian. The 2 HP Cyprian. Nope.
All right, well.
That was beautiful.
What a match.
That was my favorite game of the set. Just... That was gorgeous. I loved it. Just needed to ward off those Scribes for a little bit longer on his pylon duty. Some repairing, some mano a mano. And then he wastes even more of his time, even if he can't kill the pylon. Maybe he has to pull even more Scribes to deal with you because now you're repairing on top of it. He has to run back and forth for flash shielding. Now he's got to play like a god just to keep you from killing his first pylon. I think it was brilliant.
Nemesis Station is selected by HelltRYKS. I think he was playing like an hour-long game versus the AI earlier, because I remember checking. We have that Discord rich presence thing that you can use if you happen to turn on the game detection, which I actually don't recommend doing generally, but you know. I think maybe it stopped hammering the Windows network surface at least, so that's nice.
I mean, it depends on how much you want Tencent to know about your memory. I mean, I'm sure it reports it anyways, but does the whole world need to know that you're currently running like Orc Massage Simulator? Probably.
Well, at this stage, DF will have an opportunity to qualify undefeated. See if he does that.
We'll see. Maybe HelltRYKS has learned from shenanigans of the past. Maybe he too will attempt to cheese.
Could happen. Could happen.
I think people are going to be more wary of their pylons from now on. I think I have opened Pandora's box. I don't think that'll be the last time we see someone attempt to snipe the first pylon. It is very, very realistic to do in the right cases, especially for Terran that can repair.
It just forces a little bit of a worker dance, but it also kind of belies that you must be following up with some sort of fast, aggressive cheese maneuver. But it's not going to happen this time around.
Well, I mean, at the very least, if you do destroy the first pylon, that delays their first military unit for a really long time. You would be able to fast expand or do any number of other cheeses in the meantime just by delaying it.
Well, Terran specifically, because of the low cost of the treasury, I could believe that. But it's going to be HelltRYKS opening with a lattice.
I hope that Kian smiles upon him.
Ah, some tickling. Got him. Last word for HelltRYKS. Not scouting, though, so there you go. It corrects the path. So with the lattice being taken care of, that's kind of an interesting point because... Oh, okay, he's pulling 2 workers here. He wants to wall the worker off to prevent the scout. It's an interesting choice, but I actually think that it might still be able to slip by.
I don't know. I've tried so many times to wall stuff in CMBW that I just kind of gave up on it. It never really seems to work for me.
It will be a zealot first, so and it's going to be vassals as an initial unit. So that could actually work really well. No, they dive on.
Oh, he was able to block it. Scribes are surprisingly fat.
Hey, you know what? Just drop. Yeah, force him out. Force him onto the low ground. And you know what happens? This is going to finish pretty quickly. He drops a warden here with the vassals coming along the map, which they aren't right now. That could very well cause some shenanigans to occur. The warden can see over the ledge with the help of the vassal vision and can start pot-shotting some of these scribes.
This Drakenen will be able to stop that pretty easily, though, and he's not building it right away, so he's already getting man-bushed here. Oh.
Well, the vassals are going to be on the way.
Second lattice.
This
Drakenen will be out by the time they come out here.
Still no gas being harvested, so it's clearly a committal to continue the vassal push. You can build simulacra, if that's the goal that you want. And they can do okay against, zealots, but not very good against Drakenens. The first vassal was scouted as well, because it's what killed the scouting scribe.
Yeah.
So.
He knows. He suspects. But the thing about vassals is it doesn't matter if you think they're going to counter you. All you really need is more vassals.
Yes.
Only at about the point you start dealing with, like, Minotaurs and Valkyries, do vassals really start to fall off super mega hard. The problem is now that you only get 1 vassal to build, early on, it's hard to get those critical masses.
And HelltRYKS is not being on top of his game with the rallies either. His warden is not placed very well for general defense, and he's not been able to get a single worker kill thus far. Besides the scout, of course.
Yeah, he just needs, like, eternally more... He needs to not lose the vassals, for one. If this is going to work, you're going to need, like, 24 of them. You can definitely still make it work.
Well, I think against DF specifically, yeah, he's not going to be very proactive in the early stages of the game, and when he attacks you, it's going to be after a lot of prolonged potential setup. So even though you're losing all these... He's losing the individual vassals. He could, remember, he lost 3 so far, so he could be up to 8 right now. He's going to switch over to Sims, which is going to basically spell the...
That's going to be harder to make work because they're so short range. A little bit of micro can stop them from dealing too much damage to you. I think that Manifolds would be a good switch at this point. Although they kind of felt like they were weaker than they used to be for dealing with Drakenins, it is still some damage.
Well,
and they do move fairly quickly.
The thing about the Simulacra is that they only have one less range. It's just that they're obviously way less in terms of individual damage. However, if you hold position them on the ramp, you can clear out that Zealot relatively fast, and then it's just the Drakenins, you know. So I think it's still a possibility that he holds here, particularly with the help of the Warden. But will anything else happen?
There's going to be 5 Drakenins here, so it's going to be definitely a battle of the micro here.
He's really trying to commit pretty hard here, and he's not going to test whether or not he can effectively deal with the imposing force. He can start to try to multiply his sims a little bit, but... this is not a fight.
The Drakenins is not the fight he wants.
Now, some of his sims are splitting, but he's not even focusing his damage. And against
there's no damage focus.
That's of huge importance, right? Is focusing down your damage there on one target, because otherwise the flash shielding is going to protect them quite heavily. He's not even going to... Okay, the Warden will take care of the Zealot, but that's about it. Oh.
It's Wardens again.
It is, but I don't think DF is going to allow his force to be reckoned with at this point. The Manifolds are coming out, but they're... One Drakenid can deal with 2 Manifolds, actually, and yeah, the Pylon's even going to be focused down first. So. Scribes have to be pulled off the line.
Scribes are marching.
Again, not a single Drakenid going down in this engagement. This is pretty much over at this point.
The tickling occurs.
We got double Matrix in his main base, so that one Vassal over there can't do anything. So, yeah, that's it. That's going to be a very fast, volatile move by HelltRYKS, trying his hand at the Vassal spam.
I think it getting scouted early kind of hurt. He needed to try to replicate that wall and prevent it from being scouted.
A little bit of missed micro here from both players, really. Don't worry, he can build a Nexus in the right. Oh, never mind, it got scouted. DF really on top of things now.
He didn't want to enter a situation again where he was being absolutely destroyed by like 6 Wardens and 3 Kandors.
Well, with that, DF will qualify to the playoffs in first place. And we get to enjoy...
He was 1 short of 42 kills. HelltRYKS had built 42 units. So it was that 1 Vassal in the corner that DF needed to kill to achieve victory.
Well, remember, the Beaver now only needs to win 2 more matches to qualify in second place, and he will be facing off against HelltRYKS as a result of that 1 match.
Will Beaver also succumb to the wall of Wardens and Cantors? Meanwhile, Landier is already ripping apart your limit expander thing.
Well, DF can take a look at that when now that he's fully qualified. Will be infinite velocity. As our next one.
The last time we were on infinite velocity, we saw something thoroughly autistic. In which Benno immediately was introduced to infinite velocity. And probably will not soon forget Kian's audaciousness. The mind games have already begun.
Well,
is Beaver gonna cheese?
I imagine he might. Listen, if he was pulling 2 boys off the line just to attack a pylon, he might try that versus. Not on this map, but he might try that again.
It's harder to do on this map, yeah.
Now, he could pull 2 workers in.
I can see him trying to do it in another match, though.
Mm-hmm.
I would feel sorry for HelltRYKS in that case. He has no idea the horrors that I have unleashed upon him if that happens. But, you know, I still think there's going to be some brand of cheese on this. It wouldn't surprise me if you saw, like, Proxy Ahmed or something like that. We are not seeing early gas, which would be indicative of the Fulcrum build he's been doing earlier.
Yep.
Oh, now we're seeing some of it. Okay. But it's still a little delayed if you wanted to go Fulcrum first.
Yeah, I wonder what he's actually planning here, because maybe he's thinking the Fulcrums won't arrive fast enough to really punish the immediately first timing of the of those structures going down. It's going to be a gateway first for HelltRYKS, going back to a little bit more standard play, a bit safer, and it is a stockade first for Beaver on the other side. HelltRYKS will scout using the low ground path.
Still feel like you might see Ahmed. In the event that the Nidus does not get destroyed, it almost assuredly will be used for something stupid later in the match.
Indeed.
I mean, you might wait until like tier 3 and like proxy paladin someone or something like that. I think what I would do is if I didn't want to destroy it, I would just surround it in like matadors or something, so the second anybody pops through it, they're just like instantly killed.
Yeah. Well, you can't really block the placement, so you want to be careful about that. But you could just, of course, drop some anchors down there. Second stockade.
No Ahmed, just Cyprians, but they are rallied over to that, so I believe that early aggression is going to be something Beaver does here.
There's enough armor that the Cyprian is not going to pierce it, but yes.
Now, the Scribe may or may not encounter the approach of shenanigans. At the very least, it's not going to spot anything that's super bizarre for attack, so he might be led into a false sense of security. I don't think you can go onto this map and not destroy the Nidus early on if you're not going to use it.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
It's pretty much a requirement.
Yeah. And the future stations are just about to blow up here, so... There they go.
The Scribe did not die, so it's going to build a pylon in the back that most assuredly will not be used for anything silly.
Well, it's not in a spot that actually blocks the placement of the building, I think. Maybe just barely on the top left X, but... Units have already started to pop on through. There are 4 Cyprians.
Ahmed is en route. The Cyprians are probably just going to hold this, wait for Ahmed.
Yeah, if he tasks them onto the Nidus while he has vision.
But HelltRYKS is on to his bullshit.
Really needs to send those through to reinforce the boys, but he's not microing very well whatsoever. So. There's Ahmed.
Ahmed has arrived.
Yep, the damage dealt is quite good, and one of the Drakenins even gets stepped up there. So, yeah, at this point, you still want to use the Drakenins to poke and deal damage to the units that cannot be sustained.
Yeah, you got to tickle these down. You do not want them reaching a mass that they're going to overwhelm you because he doesn't have any defenses.
Yeah, it's Zealots first as well, which, you know, the Hurricanes are going to help out quite well with. Not going to slow down enough for a Vestry, certainly not. And 200 gas, 250 gas in the bag, lots of money available for HelltRYKS if he wants to do something with it. Just going to go for Drakenins. He put a Warden in the back line over there in the top left, but that might not be of consequence. And an anchor is being built.
I don't think Beaver is too interested in silly things like expanding at the moment. That's much too standard.
That's true.
Oh, he charges forth into the front of Ahmed.
Yeah, the wounded Huracan was in the top line there. And yeah, at this point, I don't think any of the Ahmeds are going to die because of the horrible target selection there. Because obviously he didn't target the low HP one, nor did he target the one that was, you know, actually damaged in the fight. And then he split his focus again and targeted a different one. But the anchor has completed, and it will have 2 Cyprians in it.
A little shaky, but the feet are awaiting. Additional Cyprians have arrived because, well, you just can never have enough Cyprians. Benno has taught us that.
Not quite.
The Mason escapes with just a tiny sliver of its ball sack intact.
What we want to see out of both of these players is improved unit control going forward. It looks like HelltRYKS might be, you know, things might be going as expected for his first
HelltRYKS is, he's going to learn through a trial by feet, basically.
Yeah. That's not going to get canceled either, so... It'll finish and do a couple of shots on any.
Got one Cyprian out of it. I mean, it's something.
He could have charged forward with that speed boost and killed the Mason, but only 5 HP. It'll still repair. Be quite effective. Now, at the same time, again, there is no expansion behind this.
Oh, no.
That's unfortunate.
I've tickled Mystery's anchor so many times with Drakenins, I know it's just not worth it. Oh.
I'm surprised there isn't another anchor being put to use here or built, you know. Add to the fire. You got 600 minerals in the bank almost. At this point, he's getting kerfluffled with some of the pathing. That 6 HP Mason, actually, could get repaired as well, for that matter. Could be repairing his... Yeah. The 2 Wardens are not in a spot to actually contend with the anchors.
I think he wanted to do something, but now it's body block. Yeah, the Wardens are not really going to do him too much good at the moment. I mean, if they block him from ending the game, he can just go the other way around. Oh.
What?
He had the right idea initially, but he saw the feet in the air, he got thirsty, wanted to tickle the toes, and then got his toes tickled.
One more shot on either one of the Masons would do it from either Drakenid, but it's not going to happen here.
I'm not sure it's going to make a difference at this point. There's just
so many units
Cyprians
waiting on the Nidus, but they're not being pathed around, so... And only one pylon.
When Cyprian bites the dust. The Masons are repairing each other.
You know, every time I look to the left, the latest chat message is still the Shambler saying, "This hurts my soul." I think we can all agree with that.
It's timeless.
Yes.
Ahmed charges forth.
The great unloading has occurred, but there are double Wardens and double Drakenins. Will it be enough?
Well, many Ahmeds have died, but...
Last Ahmed is killed.
All the Cyprians are still alive. Now we have to have a great scribe pull into the horde of Cyprians. Here we go.
Will he get another? Yes, he gets another. All right, and that is clearly GG, and we go into another match after this. Oh, he's got a cenotaph in the back. It's probably started to build more stuff there.
You know, he's got enough money. Yeah, there you go. That's my boy. That's my boy. You know, you can win off of dumb shit like this. You never know. Just do not return the resources with your scribe to your base. No.
It wasn't caught. Beaver wasn't paying attention. He should be somewhat suspicious.
If he had lost that scribe to that, he would not have enough to make another.
Oh
and
my
then he would
goodness,
have to GG anyways.
Yeah, because he made a Legionnaire. He's going to poke him with a single Legion.
Oh, no. This is going to give it away, though, because he's going to wonder, where did that come from? Why is there a Legionnaire here? He didn't have a cenotaph in his main.
No! Oh, here comes everybody marching on back. Where could he be?
He knows now. He definitely knows that the Legionnaire, if he had not sent the Legionnaire, Beaver could have spent like 10 minutes looking for him. By that point, he could have had Star Stopper.
Yeah, fuck that Nexus.
I mean, hypothetically, if his army just trickles in one by one every now and then, he can win.
Yeah, I would never have found. He can't attack the Warden. Not with Cyprians.
The Warden stands tall once again.
Ahmed.
This Warden, I think this Warden has gotten more kills than his military has.
Gee. Oh, there's a second one. I was waiting for the number. All right, and the Nexus falls. One more match potentially for the Beaver, and that was silly.
That was silly.
Well, we are looking pretty good for, you know, potentially having the Beaver qualify. He does only need one more match, and there is still an opportunity, however, for HelltRYKS to get on the board. He will select the next match.
Please pick Maim Street. That will absolutely not be autistic.
Perfect.
I mean, he could have just... There was a few things he could have done that hidden bay. I mean, if he just didn't build a Legionnaire, had money for his scribes, there is a world in which he slowly amasses like 8 engrams. Beaver never builds an expansion and spends the entire game just hunting it around, like drinking beer or something, and then suddenly his base is destroyed and then he loses.
I just can't wait to see what happens in this game.
I mean, wasn't there that one game, I don't know if it was against Shambler or someone else, where it was on the space station map where the bases are really close and there's a neutral bunker in the middle, and I was Zerg, and I had to rebuild my main, and I built it in the 4 gas.
Yeah.
And I think I won that one because of that. I had to rebuild my whole tech and everything in there. But it wasn't scouted for the longest time because it was in such a stupid position. And by the time it was scouted, it was so heavily fortified it didn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that map would have been Megalith Empire, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, on to Maim Street. HelltRYKS has selected this map. He must have something up his sleeve. Let's see what it is.
It's the best map. Home of that awful game I had against Mystery Meat, for example.
The Beaver is clearly a cheesy boy today. I think we're going to see more anchors, more feet.
I think he could just do the whole left across the middle thing for sure.
One gas being harvested.
Maybe that's even what he's going to be doing here.
Very
His
fast
stockade seems to indicate a forward.
Well, he's cut workers for this. He's not even building any additional workers. This is a stockade after the first worker. I think he's just going to float it, land it, Ahmed. That's my plan. That's my prediction.
Could be.
But if HelltRYKS does as much as scouting behind the mineral line, even a little bit, he will see that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's such a... Like, you wouldn't think someone's going to land a building there. You have to have it happen to you, or at least seen it, to even think about that.
Well, if you scout and you see no structure, then you're more likely to think of that, right?
Yeah.
No. Beaver's waiting for something.
Debating. He is debating.
I think he wants... No, he was waiting for gas for a Cyprian, so it'll be an anchor. It'll just be an anchor lift. Cenotaph first here from HelltRYKS, so... Legionnaires do pretty well against anchors, but Cyprians make that a lot more of a possible equation for the Terran to come out ahead in.
Yeah, you need a number of Legionnaires. It's double Cyprian. If he's going to make an anchor, he's going to need one pretty soon to make it really work. Should have been probably built before the second Cyprian, to be honest, but... I don't know. I'm not so sure he's going to do something cheesy. He's positioned back to his ramp now.
Interesting. Might be expecting something a little bit on the cheesier side.
It is double Cenotaph. I mean, there is a world in which if Beaver does not make anchors, that he's just suddenly swamped in Legionnaires out of nowhere and then dies. It's a little bit of a distance to cross, but...
Yeah, they can also come in from so many angles, and the Legionnaires themselves... They feel like 1.5x or twice the speed or something as Cyprians. Like, Cyprians are really slow. So as you point out, if there's no anchors, you're going to be in an awkward spot. This first Legionnaire will certainly take care of the Mason in the middle, assuming it's even going to continue the scout.
Oh, he's building an anchor in the middle. It's somewhat of a risky spot, and I thought the Legionnaire was going to come down there, but no, it isn't. He's going to go back. So this is incredibly right in his face, but...
Will it be scouted? No,
he has no reason to suspect it's there.
Well, when he sees the Cyprians move out like that, that is somewhat telling. Will they be, the anchor could be used as an elevator. It is complete now, so...
It's telling at least that he might be aggressive, but it doesn't tell you that there is an anchor being built here. You aren't normally going to suspect that unless you've played on Maim Street regularly before. And know that basically all these maps just are feet. And
the elevator is the move, too. He's going to lift off the next two Cyprians as well. But again, individual Cyprians are not going to be a match for the number of Legionnaires here.
He just wants to have the anchor draw aggro and then have the remaining Cyprians reinforce it. Meanwhile, the other Cyprians might just go back and they're just gonna have to come back again unless he goes for a base trade.
Which could happen. I mean, sillier things have happened. He's got a lot of money in the bank. He could certainly queue stuff up. Yeah, he's actually pulling the Legionnaires back up. So
here we go.
Yeah, going straight onto it. No attempts at changing the surround or changing.
It popped out, and he's still attacking the anchor. Unfortunately.
No! Don't
No! It's too early, too soon. Oh, one scribe died.
Hey, he could attack that Cyprian. It's charged forward.
It's got 18 health. Now they are a little separated. One down.
Again, the Legionnaires could be split in such a way that they are not going to take damage from multiple Cyprians at once.
Additional feet have arrived.
Oh, he's blocking it.
He's blocking it.
Bob and weave. Bob and weave. Bob and weave, baby. Queue up some more units while you got. Oh no, he landed it. Move the Legionnaires in quick. That's not going to happen. If he can get there in time for the mark, no, the mark disappears. He has to do it closely. Again, he's not moving it, so they're both taking damage.
No, the scribe's charged. Oh no! Oh no! It's inverse 300.
The pain.
Absolutely massacred. Oh, it's just just a little pile of puke right there. Just vomited all over the piss deflector.
Yeah. I can only imagine what's being done. what a grueling statement.
Man, he's gonna destroy that anchor at the very least.
My soul burns. Indeed.
My soul burns.
All right, well, I guess that does it. That wraps this group up. And you know what? I hope HelltRYKS doesn't get too discouraged. That's his first taste of what a human can do to another human. What a man can do to another man. And
humans are the greatest monsters of them all.
And yeah, I hope HelltRYKS comes back stronger for the next match. Sorry to do it to you, he said.
He's not sorry.
I don't know how sorry he really is. Meme Street. All right, boys.
So now we have Shambler against Computer.
Oh, okay. Well, he's practicing some stuff. We were set to start Group C, which actually Mesk is playing in. We were set to start that in about 50 minutes from now, but we may accelerate that depending on who's available or whatnot. But that is going to be Ben Taberski, The Shambler, and Iskatu Mesk, Protoss, and Random. So I look forward to seeing the very silly games. I can't wait for you to pick Maim Street.
I'm going to pick Maim Street. Yeah. Prepare yourself.
All right.
I don't know how to play Maim Street, but I'm going to pick it anyways just because it's Maim Street.
There it is. All right, boys.
And I'm actually going to go make dinner for my grandmother.
Yeah. We'll see when people are available. Probably, I think the earliest we would start is in 20 minutes anyway, because that's like a half an hour ahead of schedule. But we'll see how it goes. I need to clear my head anyway, because I've been stuffed into my room for a while.
It's full of feet.
It is full of feet. Let's get out of here, boys, and we'll be back for the final group, because this one has 3 fucking groups. That's how epic we are.
That's 3.
Yeah, see you guys on the 3 side.
3 fucking groups, and they're fucking.
They're fucking.
They're fucking 3.
They're fucking 3.